No, he's got it. He's got it.
Yippee, because he got it.
You got the right one, baby.
That's not the song I was
Can't
thinking
get
about.
motherfucker. Let's get this new stuff.
I was thinking, yippee, she's got it. Because everybody, at first when I heard that song, I didn't think it was Venus. I thought it was, I'm your penis, you know.
One.
Okay.
That's that Bananarama song.
Bananarama. Well, no, actually, Bananarama covered it, right?
No. Did
that's
she?
That's the original?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was done by, oh my goodness. It was done by the Shocking Blue in 1970.
Bah. It was done first by Yippee, she's got it, Bananarama.
Bananarama traveled through time and stole it, and then they.
Exactly.
Bananarama, they were known. They had their lawyers called Bananarama Dama Company. Sold the rights to it.
Oh.
She got it.
Oh yeah, it's that. Was it Secret commercial or something? It was
for razor blades.
Yeah.
No, they did it. It was a big hit in the 80s.
Yeah, it was.
For them.
Yeah, it was by Bananarama. Yeah.
And then I think in the 2000s it was on a commercial or something.
Yeah, it was on a commercial.
That was one of those where it was like, who was going to be like the big all-girl group of the 80s? Was it going to be Bananarama or was it going to be...
The Go-Go's?
No, by that point the Go-Go's were kind of done.
The Bangles were done, and the 80s were...
Well, no, it was kind of like the
Bangles.
Bangles. No, it was kind of like at that
Girls.
point it was like the Spice Girls is the 90s. Well, the Spice Girls is the 90s. I mean, that's. I mean, at the time though, it was kind of like, okay, is it Bananarama or the Bangles? And really, in reality, the answer is none of the above. And there wasn't really. Are we recording? Because this is really good shit.
Yeah, this is good shit.
I was going to say, but now that I think about it, was there really? I mean, the Go-Go's early, but the Go-Go's kind of disappear early, don't they, Ivan?
Well, what happened with the Go-Go's was like a lot of the girl groups that happened upon the scene, a lot of them just, they just fired off and then burned up into the atmosphere, and they had a few good charting tunes, but yeah, by the Go-Go's, by the time 83, 84 was around, they were done. Same with the Bangles, same with the
Bangles were a little longer than that because the Bangles
not by much because I know the last thing they did was Return to Zero, the soundtrack. They did Hazy Shade of Winter for the soundtrack. That's the last known thing I remember the Bangles ever doing.
How far back is Walk Like an Egyptian?
That was
seems like it's further.
84
or
85.
No way.
82?
83, 84.
No, 86 according to this.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. 84.
86 is. That's what I was going to say.
Wait a minute. 86 as a charter or 86 as released by?
Well, usually the chart and the release are pretty close together.
No, it says
not
86.
Not always. Yeah, most of the time.
It says 86 is a release according to Wikipedia.
That's Wikipedia, so that can be scrutinized though. But anyway, we'll call it the mid 80s. Okay, yeah, and because that was the last thing I remembered that group ever doing anything more than that, because by the time 84 came around, it was monopolized by Michael Jackson and Prince and all the rappers doing their groovy thing, and all the hip hop guys.
Your timing on this is off, man.
Why?
A little bit, because I'm looking at this, it's like Manic Monday, which was probably their breakout, was 86. Walk Like an Egyptian was 86. Hazy Shade of Winter is 87. Something called In Your Room is 88, and then Eternal Flame is 89.
No, I don't think so.
And that predates Wilson Phillips is coming in on that too.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Well, Wilson Phillips.
Yeah, but then,
was
like
the
I said, you're looking at Wikipedia, and again, that could be set to conjecture. Okay.
Man, I'm pretty sure.
All information, and I mean,
Fine. What site would you like me to check?
What site would you like to check? Well, I mean, there are others, but Wikipedia is not your place.
Right. Okay. So, what other site would you like me to check?
Well, why don't you just
I'm telling you,
everybody else does.
Because so now according to Google, Manic Monday is 86, Hazy Shade of Winter is 87, Walk Like an Egyptian, you're talking about 86, Eternal Flame is 88. So you're talking mid to late 80s.
85 to 88, okay. Which means if, given the track record and charting action of all that music in the 80s, which predates the scanning device and everything like that, which it wasn't available to all labels back then just yet. So we can put that behind a year. So definitely 84, 85, 86, 87. So that's where that's
okay.
The Bengals have their own website.
I'm sure they do. They should.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the point of the matter being, with a lot of things happening, you had the hair bands in the 80s making, a couple of albums and then poof, you had the girl groups, which, they endured a little bit more, but went up just as fast.
But there wasn't really a dominant,
high consuming musical time because so many things happened in the 1980s musically.
Right, but there isn't. I mean, if you said what's the definitive 80s girl group, I wouldn't say there was one. I wouldn't even honestly. I wouldn't even say there was one that was.
Yeah, you got Pat Benatar, you got Joan Jett and the
Black. Pat Benatar's not a girl group.
That's not girl group.
Oh no, that's not a girl group. You're right. There weren't a lot of girl groups.
I mean, the quote actually, you did mention Joan Jett. Joan Jett did have Joan Jett and but that's really Joan Jett. That's not really.
And the heart was it?
I can't remember. Right, but that's really just Joan Jett. I mean, I don't mean to be that way about. And that's not to take anything away from the band. It's just when it's Joan Jett and it's kind of not the band. It's kind of like Joan Jett, but at least my opinion.
Well, okay. See now, opening up a page from the history of girl groups, actual all girls singing, all girls playing instrument groups. Is that where we're going?
I don't know. I think the only point I'm making is that there's, I'll give you an example, okay? The 90s. Off the top of my head, without having to think about it, okay, Spice Girls. Boom.
And Vogue had a one or two hit albums.
Right, but the point being is there's a definitive girl group. Even, even the 70s. I mean, if you sat there and said the 70s, okay, what, the Supremes, right? I mean, the 70s would be.
No, not in the 70s. The 60s.
Well, 60s, fine. Yeah. But there's been some very, very dominant. Okay, through the years. Okay, here's the all-girl group. That's the dominant all-girl group. And my only point was the 80s doesn't seem to have that. Now, your rationale is correct, which is the 80s there was a gigantic explosion of music.
Solo artists.
So many. Not only solo artists, but just in terms of directions. Right.
Different things.
Yep.
So much stuff was happening at the same time between 80 and 89.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
hair bands, rap.
Right, exactly.
House, gangster rap,
Right.
Electronica made a big thing, synthesized groups, I mean, the gamut goes on.
Hard rock, heavy metal came
right.
Mostly probably due to MTV.
And then of course, then you had Headbangers Ball. There you go. That encompassed all of the hair bands and all of the heavy bands that were still playing from the 70s that made it to the 80s. But basically, the whole Headbangers Ball situation was definitely late 70s, early to all the way through the 80s up until the time grunge took over in the early 90s.
Yeah, the grunge. The alternative. What you call it?
The alternative or grunge, it's still proper terminology.
I kind of laugh because, really in reality, I just wonder if heavy metal fans in some ways didn't do themselves in.
Oh, God. Speaking of which, I found a video mashup, somebody shared this, of Huey Lewis's Hip to Be Square, but they put in James Hetfield singing Enter Sandman.
Yep.
To the melody of Hip to Be Square, and it works, and it's a terrible earworm, and I hate it, and I love it at the same time.
Yeah. But I mean,
you open yourself up to that shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about it. I mean, I even all understand where I'm coming from with this, which is, think about who the typical audience was for heavy metal hair bands in the 80s. And one of the biggest complaints was, pardon my French, those fuckers don't buy anything.
And you're right, they don't.
They don't buy anything.
They don't support their own, genre. It's you're right. And that was one of the big letdowns.
Downfalls, yeah.
One of the big letdowns, one of the big downfalls of the bands. Okay, first off, a lot of these bands, with the lawyers who were just as crooked. That's why the first two albums a band would make went into incidentals. It wasn't up until if the band had a third hit album that they were actually going to start making any money.
Well, yeah, because they'd wrecked the whole goddamn hotel on the way.
Exactly.
So
we got, so in many ways, the hair band thing, along with the merchandising, which, many times never took off.
Merchandising.
And all the other situations, the leasing options and all that, were not huge money makers for the hair bands or the heavy metal bands, and definitely over time it just, over time it just
even
imploded.
when they toured, I mean, Ivan and I can talk about this because, what's his name from Rebel Radio would always bitch about the fact, you fuckers gotta buy shit, otherwise we can't be on the air. And it's like,
but most of that whole 90s Rebel Radio situation basically was nothing more than a shadow of its former self by the time.
I understand, but I mean, I remember friends in the 80s where I'm like, okay, like they weren't buying cassettes. They were like, oh yeah, I heard it on the radio, and they made a tape for themselves off of what they taped on the radio.
They would drop it off the air and just call it square, so.
Right, and they were good with that. And they were constantly like, oh, I don't need to buy this, I don't need to buy that. I mean, I had enough friends who listened to metal where I'm like,
maybe if they had $20, they'd go to the mall and get a T-shirt.
Yeah,
maybe
they'll never bother with a CD, let alone a cassette of anything,
right?
Because they're busy, ripping it off, doing off the air, air checks for themselves, or if they have people that were with the more sophisticated equipment and got the early.
By the mid '90s, you had a thing called used CDs, and that was undercutting the music business as well.
Well, yeah. Well, that's because the media that was to end all media didn't do right by its own media because of the fact that after a few years the media undid itself. CDs were not all that they were cracked up to be over time. They were touted as the next great digital age. No, it's made out of man-made manufactured materials, which does what? Break down over time.
Yep.
The
other thing about CDs was they were it's like you knew how much it cost to produce a CD. And then you'd go to the store, and it'd be like $10, $15.
Yeah, or if you're even even back in the day, you went to Borders, and sometimes a new CD, if it wasn't on sale, would be like $18 for a new album on CD.
And you're like, this is by the way, that's why whatchamacallit, Jesus, I can't remember the name of it. Napster. That's the reason why Napster absolutely destroyed everybody.
That's what Napster happened. That's why Napster happened.
Yeah.
Because they found a way.
When the internet was new.
Right. Let's take all of the content that everybody listens to one at a time, put them in one place so they can download just the one song that they want, charge for that one song, and we're going to make us millions, which they did.
Yeah. Is that or you get a CD single?
Well,
or
and
that
was
those
right.
Are $5.
That was right. That wasn't like reasonable either. There was a really big period when CDs happened of greed. I mean, and greed in terms of what you knew something cost versus what the cost was. And I get that you have to advertise and you have to do all this stuff and you have to pay a whole bunch of people and there's a whole bunch of people that need to get paid. But the money that was being made on CDs hand over fist was insane. And Napster
came in and took advantage of that situation.
Right. Well, they
knew what a commodity it had become. So they took advantage of the commodity and said, let's make it available in one spot. And not everybody wants a whole album. They just want what they heard, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to. You know, they relegated it to the reissue column, which that's where they sat most of those 3-inch single CDs. Okay.
Well, and the other thing is too, it wasn't the best part of the whole thing was it wasn't just consumers who were ripping stuff off the Napster. I'll never forget. I went to visit somebody who was I went to visit some. I don't know if Ivor remembers or not. I went to go visit a guy by the name of Ed Didier, and at the time, Ed ended up moving and was the head engineer out in Fort Wayne, and I happened to be out in Fort Wayne, and you'll get kicked out of this, Ivan. He picks me up.
I remember Ed Didier. Yeah.
He picks me up in a freaking Mustang, and I'm like, okay, good to know in a small market you can make that kind of money. Being an engineer, me kicking myself in the ass going, I picked the wrong part of this industry to be in. Anyway, but the point being is, I'm talking to like the music director because he brings me in. He's like, hey, we're so blah, blah, blah. And we're just talking and he's like, yeah, I'll be right back. He's like, hey, I apologize. I'm really kind of busy this afternoon. I gotta pull a whole bunch of stuff off of Napster. Because they were doing the same stuff, which was, hey, you know what? We don't have to pay for the music either. We'll pay for the rights that we have to run these
radio stations.
But we don't have
the gig too.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Well, basically, what Napster did was they did all the grunt work, and then all the radio stations just downloaded and got all the glory for having the most advanced, playlist and everything all done in rapid speed.
Right. Well, the other part is
it was all done for them. Right. It was all done.
Like you guys just said. Like you guys both said. It's like, okay, did they want to go out and pay $18 for a CD for a whole bunch of songs that they may or may not need? No. Did they want to pay $5?
And you can't rely on the label to send you out a promotional CD just to get airplay.
Right, exactly. And some of those places we're not always getting.
Especially in the smaller markets, you're right.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah.
The mid-small markets were not making those. They were not making those promo calls, not like they did in the early, in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That pretty much tapered off by the 70s in the mid to small markets. It was almost non-existent by the 80s.
Right.
Because unless you were doing localized promotion like I was doing for the first few shows before it became the AM Mayhem and everything, for when I was doing, Roots and Influences and Planet Music and everything when I was out there, in the trenches, talking to bands and shit like that. But as far as like that, even that wasn't already a long time ago extinct sensibility, on AM radio. But, I did it because I was, passionate about it and I believed in it and everything, and I just felt I did my little bit. But by the time that it had become that. By the time it had become that in the late 1990s, 2000s, it was almost to the point of non-relevance, because the internet came in, and being online and AOL and everything just coming from all directions. Poof, local promotions of any rock and roll band, let alone any band, had all but dried up, and the big labels weren't interested in any of the mid to smaller markets anymore anyway.
And music gravitated to FM, and talk gravitated to AM.
Yeah.
Because of sound quality.
Yeah. Well, some people tried to make the whole AM stereo thing work to nil results, really. It was on for maybe a few years, but then it was like, who the fuck cares, And then, hell, I remember when VBX was still FM mono by the time that we got out of there, and it became FM stereo.
Yeah.
It was the last holdout FM mono holdout in the whole FM band in Chicago. That was bizarre.
Well, because they didn't want to pay for it.
Well, no,
in fairness,
Douglas Broadcasting was not about it, man. Douglas Broadcasting.
Well, in fairness, it's not like you need stereo for the German program today,
or any of the ethnic programs.
Yeah.
Matter.
Yeah,
right, I get it. This was content minded brokered radio, not quality content brokered radio. But,
once in a blue moon you get. Well, once in a blue moon you get.
Well, once in a blue moon you get something you can
get
laugh
content,
at.
but yeah,
Shit, or the hijinkics that was, the three of us when we were running around that place years ago. Come on.
Well, it was funny. I was just telling somebody the other day about how there was that day with the two German ladies almost killed each other over the fact that someone was hoarding pens.
Ganella.
Yeah, Ganella was one of them, and then I can't remember the name of the other one.
But I know I think I was there when I saw the.
Oh, you were. We were both there because we're working on stuff, and the problem was we're in the middle of dealing with shows when this happens, and it's like, what the hell is going on out here? And it's like it looked like a match at WrestleMania or something like.
Oh my God! I thought it was going to come to blows, Jeff. It looked like it.
I thought it did. Did it not?
It became a hair pulling match. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember something like that, and it was all because somebody was hoarding. Hoarding pens.
I think it was that Ganella had brought promotional pens, and I guess
I can't remember what the other ones
kept stealing all the pens.
I can't remember what the other one's name was. It's funny because I ended up having to deal with her when I was downtown, and she's such a God, she was.
You.
Well, I think I told you about the one time that she sits there and she said, the one time where literally, this is when we're not at the nice studios yet. We're still at the makeshift studios. So the studio is actually this big room that basically hasn't been refurbished enough. So there's echo. All right. So when I'm not even on air and she's on air and she's talking about, and now we're going to play this lovely, beautiful music. And and she goes to me and I'm kind of looking at her and I'm like, with that look of, I ain't got it. And she's like, I gave it to you. I'm like, no, you didn't. And the best is, there's enough echo, I can hear myself on air. And this is going on air. We're going back and forth. And I'm just sitting there not my show, not my problem.
Should have gone to Napster, lady.
Well, and the best is her mic is still on, and I can't exactly go to dead air. So it's like we're doing this on air, and I think her older mother was there, and she's like, "Just give him a CD," and I'm like, "Yes, that would be smart.
Playing some music would be good.
Playing some music would be phenomenal.
Great.
Instead of,
but that seems to be the thing with the brokered radio people, man. It's like they sit there, they poop on themselves, and then they're like a deer in headlights, and it's like, oh my god, just give me
it's not
something.
even deer in headlights. She just wanted to be right. She wanted to be right that she did it and she gave it to me and it was my fault. Well, it doesn't matter if it's your fault or my fault. Right now, there's nothing going on.
There's nothing going over except the echoing of your voices on an open hot microphone.
Well, no, her mic's open. All you can hear me is through the echo on the room because I'm talking to her normally and I can hear her through my headphones. And I'm like dying because I'm like, okay, this is going to sound.
Yeah, brokered radio.
And what's with all the German women? What's with all the German brokers who are women who are every name ended with Ella in some way, shape, or form. Like all of them.
Ella.
Yeah, and not in a good way. Not in an Ella way.
Cruella?
That's her. No, it wasn't Cruella, but damn close to that.
Barbarella?
Because she was always talking about, and the best is, she was always talking about these angels, and angel this, and angel that, and then when she'd get off mic, she'd be like, give me a fucking cigarette. She would say fuck, but she'd be like, give me a cigarette, and he'd be like, chain smoking in the meanest person on the planet. You're like, okay, well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. You sure you're talking about angels?
I know. It sounds familiar, Jeff. Dang, but it's just like it's like underneath a bunch of dust on the.
I want to. Maybe it's Sabilla. Sabilla. That's who it was.
Sabilla.
I think her name was Sabilla.
Sabilla.
Yeah, I remember that. Right. Ganella was the chunky blonde.
Ganella and Sabilla.
And Sabilla looked like the evil dragon lady. Yeah, it is like.
Was Sabilla the one with the heavy, like lashes and like the heavy?
Yeah, the makeup and all that stuff. Yeah.
She came from the Barnum and Bailey Circus and some shit like that.
Yep. That's
like
the
all
one.
these wild ass colors. Oh, and her dresses were so loud.
Yep.
They were so loud.
See, okay, so Mike, I'll ask this question because I can't answer that because Ivan knows from VVX and NDC from when we worked at a broker where we were working together. Like, did your brokers hoard supplies?
No, I was just a Sunday guy. All my shows were on tape.
Oh, were they all?
Well, except for Pat Capriati, he was the only one who was in live. Everyone else was either on cassette or over the phone.
Oh my God, it was like.
Well, during the week when I was at Weave, when I was working with Paul Ciminillo, when I was working with the Jewish rabbi, in the morning, which Rabinowitz, or I forgot what his name was, but yeah, really great dude, really cool Jewish man. Great show, loved working this show. I mean, he just made it happy. He really was a good guy. And I did do some of the broker shows, and you're right, some of them just have this fascination with whatever's not nailed down.
Oh yeah, without question. Without question. I mean, there were just some where it was
down. I mean, they drank the coffee, they ate the desserts. The pencils would always be in a cup for the rest of us that we need to use to make, readings and shit for the transmitter. We never could find one by the end of the day.
Yeah.
All fucking people kept lifting them out and put them in their books.
Or my favorite was there was one time I couldn't find a pen, and somebody goes, "Oh, I got a pen," and he's got one of those cubbies, and he's got 50 pens in there, and a couple of them are pens that I brought from home.
Yeah, I had to bring pens from home because.
And I'm like.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, I see where all the pens went, y'all. Freaking bunch of freaking.
Instead, you take a piece of asphalt from the driveway outside and just use that to carve your transmitter readings on paper.
Yeah, seriously.
Just kind of get some carbon paper and just use your nail. You'll use several pieces of paper, and here you go. It looks like chicken scratch, but I did it.
It's funny. I've been really tempted do storytelling and talk about the Assyrians, but I can't figure out how to do it without anybody sitting there and saying, You're being, culturally incorrect. What am I supposed to say? They showed up in a freaking Volkswagen bus and there was 20 of them in there. and then they go on air and they drown themselves in echo, and they be, and I'm not making this up. This is what they sound like.
No, because I was with you. Right. I was with you doing some of the Saturday stereo programmings, and
they were your brokers, and I was always laughing because it was like people would be like, "Oh, shut up! They're not really shooting. They're not really playing like sound bites that sound like gunfire." Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah, they are.
I remember in the 90s, I remember having them posting articles and stuff like after the first Gulf War in the mid-90s when Saddam came in. We pulled out of Kuwait, and then Saddam came in and slaughtered the Kurds in northern Iraq after we left. And there are all the articles about, the Assyrians were not happy people. I'm glad I wasn't part of that on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, it was always a very strange situation because first off, none of us knew the language, so we had no idea what's being transmitted. Okay, for starters. Okay, so somebody was supposed to be recording the air checks to all of these little stations. I never heard of anybody doing that over at WEAF, and I know that they didn't do that over at VVX either.
You know when they did it? When I worked for WSBC, they actually did it. They were actually recording the air checks.
Audio logs of the programming all day?
They had that stuff, and they paid translators. Huh. And I was like,
whoa,
yeah. Really? Wow. And it was really funny because everybody looks at me like with a weird look. I'm like, I'm sorry, I worked in broker radio a long time. You're the first time. I've ever heard anybody doing it. And because I used to sit there and say, it's like, well, yeah, we had to admonish them about this, in their programming. And I'm like, how'd you know? And they're like, oh yeah, we had the translators. I'm like, you guys had translators? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, every so often we have somebody translate stuff just to check it. And they're like, oh, well, that's interesting. But yeah, no.
Yeah,
they really transmitted.
WEAF was a free for all, man. I mean, and it was it was nothing short of a miracle that nothing happened to any of us. With all the shit that was going on in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, we're party to a bunch of Assyrians and a bunch of Iranians and a bunch of people, using their native language to use the American AM airwaves, and God only knows what they were saying and doing on those
whatever propaganda programs. They might have been promoting.
Propaganda that was going on. And then, of course,
I don't know if you saw it. I wrote about this on my Facebook page because I don't remember why I ended up writing about it, but I'll never forget, like, when NATO went into Serbia when all that stuff was going on.
Yeah, in the Clinton years,
right, and so WNBZ has all this Serbian programming on the weekend where they talk to people all the time. And I don't know and I'm serious when I say this, before the weekend happens, when all this stuff is going to happen, my boss, who Ivan would know was a guy by the name of Link Burns.
Yeah,
we're doing like small talk, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, be careful about be careful with your transmitter readings and all this stuff, and make sure you mind your P's and Q's." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Is there?" He's like, "I'm like, is there a reason?" He's like, "Yeah, I think the FBI." He's like, "Yeah, the FBI is going to be listening in this weekend." What? The FBI is going to be listening, and I'm like, and of course, I have to ask the obvious question. And you know this because, they called me. Oh, well, interesting.
Thanks for that.
Okay, that's good to know.
Thanks for that.
I'm like, oh, all right.
My goodness.
I'm like, okay. That's not something you hear every day in radio. It's like, hey, by the way, the FBI is going to be listening in on this station to make sure that there isn't anything. Okay.
Oh, my God, yeah.
It was funny, too. Well, I shouldn't say funny, but sure enough, like, because they had people and connections, and they got people on the ground, and I hear air raid sirens and bombs and shit going off, and I'm like, whoa. And it's like, you're not hearing this on the news. You get the CNN version. This is like the real stuff. And I'm like, I got done that day, and I was like...
Yeah, before it gets homogenized.
Right. Oh, well, it's like, you hear about it on CNN and all this stuff, but you don't get to really hear, like, there's
a
guy and there's like
But that's the thing. That's the thing in media, man. You know what? You give us a laundry list of everything we could possibly say, but then given the time content and everything, and then the program director saying, "Well, no, you don't need to do the first 20 lines. Just these last 3 lines. Call it a day."
Well, it's not even that. It's just okay. The CNN guy is in the safe spot. These are people who live there. That you're like hearing air raid sirens and explosions.
I mean, you're there as it's happening. Like
right, exactly there. You're like,
yeah,
okay.
Like they did in the Vietnam War in the 1960s. If you go to the Channel 2 archives, go under Vietnam War and 1960s footage, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff of these announcers, and all these guys are actually, they got guns firing over their heads and missiles going over their heads. They're in, tall grass with the helmet on and a mini cam and a mini mic and all this small shit, and you hear the shit going on, man. I mean, I think the Vietnam War in the 1960s was probably the most televised war of any media process as far as that type of coverage went. But yeah, I totally what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, Jeff. Yeah.
Mike was lucky. Mike got to work on the weekends. He just had pack up.
That was just a Sunday guy, yeah. This was gas money for me.
Mike didn't have to worry about like this, like all the
during the week, during the week or so, or all the other days you were there.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to laugh at the end of. I used to laugh at the end of Sun. Like the best is when we worked at VVX, and it was like it never failed. No matter what happened, that place by the end of Sunday night looked like a war zone.
Oh yeah,
and it was funny because every time we'd get called about, what the hell are you guys doing down there all freaking weekend? There are these problems during the week. What goes on? And it's like, people come here on the weekend. People, it's like newspapers are everywhere.
On the weekend, people have bachelor parties on the weekend. People,
that was only one time, I think.
On the weekend.
People, it's like
friends on the weekend.
Like, how are we out of coffee? We have like 2 weeks worth of coffee. It's all, we had 2 weeks worth of coffee on Friday when I left here. Where did it all go? Stuff like that.
They're Syrians.
Like, it wasn't even Assyrians. It was just like
between all operators trying to stay awake from the boring programming and shit, and drinking, anywhere from 3 to 6 cups of coffee all day long.
Well, the thing is too is it's like, okay, so we're all there, and our job is to be a producer for the show and make sure everything is okay with their show. Our job is not to make sure the studio's clean. That's not our job. And the best is everyone's reaction is, that's not my job. So as a result, no one's going to do it.
So nobody cleaned it.
Oh, you're damn right no one was cleaning it.
No.
Nobody was cleaning it. Everybody had the same reaction, which is, fuck this, I'm not doing it. They didn't do it, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, they didn't do it.
Yeah, the public restroom that was right next to your door to the studios, there were times I'd go in there and yep, it got blown up.
Yep.
It was bad.
Oh yeah. Sometimes it got blown up. Sometimes you walked in there and it reeked of all manner of high heaven. Then sometimes, most of the times, no toilet paper.
Yeah,
yeah, that's happened too. Yeah, I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago on Squares. On news.
We talked about
toilet paper. Yeah,
we talked about toilet paper just in general, but
yeah, we talk about toilet paper often here.
Yes. Well, I mean, in fairness, they also use the crappy toilet paper, the kind that Oh,
you're talking really about the single ply that if you shine the light through it, you can actually see
single ply. Yeah.
No, the stuff where if you wipe your butt with it, it takes a piece of your flesh with
tears,
you.
yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the ones with the Scotch brand, kind of stamped on the other side, yeah.
No.
The one where it's made out of wood, and you think you used wood.
Well, technically it is wood.
Yeah, well.
It softens it all up.
Yeah. Yeah, softens your body up is what it does. It's like, oh my God. It's like, okay.
Yeah, just like a tube of Preparation H, you know what I mean?
No, that's the last thing you want to put back there after that. It's like, holy gee, Christmas. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, Jesus, how many pieces of my butt are gone now after I use that stuff? Holy cow.
Well, the hole just got bigger.
Forget my hole. There's now a hole somewhere else in my ass, too. Jeez.
Ganella and Sabilla.
That
trailer just dropped. Those two monsters were going at it pretty bad. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
That's
a different thing. So, Mike, what did you do this week?
Yeah, time to start the show. Should I start recording now?
Oh, you're killing me.
Oh. Just watched a little bit more of Star Trek Discovery. I got 2 more to go, season 3. It's good. It's okay. It's all right. I'm glad they've had some references to. They had another 2-parter in the Mirror Universe, and nice reference to City on the Edge of Forever, classic Star Trek. That was the one with Joan Collins.
Can we talk?
The Guardian, yeah. No, that's Joan Rivers.
Oh, Joan Rivers. Yeah. Oops, my bad.
Yeah, Dynasty Joan Collins, yeah.
Right, sorry, my bad.
She was Edith Keeler, I think was the character's name. Anyway.
She's in a Batman episode.
Yeah, she was the Siren in Batman 66, yeah. But yeah, it's good. It's good. And of course, we'll get into WandaVision, see episode 3 here in a bit. I had to work all this weekend, and we had 3 days of preparation just for the snowstorm that's coming. It started now here. It's snowing here now, so. Mm-hmm. But we've had 3 days of people coming in buying salt and shovels and snowblowers and just the usual stuff that you get when there's a snowstorm and you don't prepare at all. Mm. That's like this, just the weekend, and just reminds me of that scene, that line that Gene Hackman had in the first Superman movie, where he's watching Otis walking down the corridor or whatever, and he says, "It's amazing how that brain can generate enough power to keep those legs moving." That's when I see the people sometimes. But yeah, been a busy week in that regard. So I didn't watch the football games. I didn't catch any of that. Just getting the scores here and there, but
yeah, if you really want to have fun, but boy, are Packer fans just looking
womp womp.
Yeah, just looking for
any little shit just to start something. Any little shit just to start something. They're all crying in their soup because their team lost.
Crying in their cheese curds.
And my favorite is they're all there. So the funny part is they're all focused on the fact that there was a pass interference call that at the end of the game that they're like, they didn't call anything all game, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, now they're gonna call that, and it's like, welcome to Tom Brady, bitch. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's like, oh, you're complaining. Packer fans are complaining about calls. You mean like the rest of the NFC when we don't get calls because we're playing the Packers?
The great and powerful Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, where the old powerful Aaron Rodgers.
Great and powerful Packers.
Yeah, well.
If I get to hear one more line from Joe Buck rhymes with about how awesome Aaron Rodgers is.
So here was the amazing part about that. You know how much they spooge up to Tom Brady, too. So I was really curious how that was going to go. And no, they spent a lot of time basically like toadying up to Aaron Rodgers and not Tom Brady, which was really kind of surprising. But yeah, I mean, it was really funny. I'm like, I think I put it on my Facebook page because I thought it was funny because I was like, you're like something along the lines of your referee powers are null today. You
have no power. Yeah,
you have no power now. Things are going to go back to normal because Tom Brady's in town. You don't get the kind of it's like calls. You don't get those calls anymore. They got Tom Brady. Don't you understand this? I don't. Forgive me. I'm a Colts fan. Okay. it's bad enough when you're dealing with Aaron Rodgers and the Bears. It's a lot worse when it's Tom Brady and the Patriots. Not only are they sneaky bastards, they get every goddamn call and they get away with everything. And so it's like, I mean, I laugh because they're like
we're in Lambeau Field. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
So you're okay with the Buccaneers going to the Super Bowl instead of the Packers?
Oh, hell yeah.
Your hatred for the Packers is stronger than Tom Brady?
You know, I gotta tell you, Tom Brady on the Buccaneers isn't nearly as annoying as Tom Brady on the Patriots. And I'm not sure why.
Maybe because he doesn't have Gronk?
No, he does have Gronk. Gronk is
that's
there.
Right. Gronk is with the. That's right. Gronk was with the Bucs.
You know what? It's. You know, I gotta tell you, I'm more. I feel like it's just weird. For some strange reason, I have less issues with Tom Brady now that he's in Tampa than I did when he was with the Patriots.
It's because there's no Belichick.
That could be. I think it's the combination.
Yeah.
I think it's the combination of the two where it's like, you know, it's Brady and the evil Belichick, and they're a bunch of cheating bastards, and they're the evil empire, and all those things. Whereas Tampa Bay, it's like, it's Tampa. They're not like the evil empire. They've never really
They've been underdogs for years.
Well, it's been a while. They have won. They did win a Super Bowl in the early 2000s, but I think, but yeah, I mean, it's not like they're like the model NFL franchise. It's been a while since they've been able to do something like this. So, I mean, it's like it's not like, I mean, I guess part of it is it's not like, okay, it's not like Tom Brady has like the kind of weapons and all the things that he would have in
dirty bag of tricks. Dirty tricks.
Yeah, it's although it was funny, I think. Although it was funny earlier in the week, it's like, oh, you're playing Green Bay. Would you like me to help you deflate like balls? Do you need me to steal balls? You know, that kind of shit. You know, I'm not gonna lie. There was a part of me, I'm like, yeah. But honestly, Tom Brady without the Patriots, is not
more tolerable.
Annoying.
Okay.
He is more tolerable.
Okay.
Now, if you had said to me, like back in when Tom Brady was with the Patriots, if you said to me Packers or Patriots, it's like, oh no, I'll take the Packers over the Patriots. Mm-hmm. I'll take the gloating from Wisconsin over the you don't like us because you can't beat us from the East Coast of the Patriots. Right. That whole thing, no way. But yeah, mm-hmm. I thought it was. I mean, the biggest thing is, and this will be a moot point. This will be moot by the time this airs. But you know, and even Ivan knows this one. You have about 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You're down by 8 points. You're at the 8-yard line. It's 4th and goal. Do you let Aaron Rodgers try to score you a touchdown to get you possibly tied?
The 2-point conversion, yeah.
And a 2-point conversion. Or B, do you pull him off the field, kick a field goal, and then say, let's let our defense see if we can stop Tom Brady and get the ball back.
Get the offside kick.
There wasn't even an onside kick.
What?
There wasn't an onside kick.
Oh, my God.
I'm like laughing.
This is why you're paying Aaron Rodgers the big bucks.
Wait, hold on a second. Oh, you see, the problem is you've already ruined this, but Ivan, I don't even think Ivan doesn't know much about football, and even Ivan knows the answer to this question.
Yeah.
Which is you do A, correct, Ivan?
Right.
Okay. Well, they did B. They kicked a field goal. You got freaking Aaron Rodgers. You pay him.
And you're down, now you're down by 5, and you don't have the ball.
Now you're down by 5. You kick the ball.
And now they don't got the ball.
And now they got the ball. And it's like, well, Tom Brady's been bad all half. It's still Tom Brady. It's not like he has to score a touchdown. He just needs to get a first down.
That was all.
You really want to play that game with Tom Brady. We're not talking about Mitch Trubisky. We're talking about Tom Brady. You dumbasses. and they're complaining about a pass interference call. Tom Brady's got the ball. No, Tom Brady shouldn't have the ball in the first place. It should have been like, I mean, it's one thing. Look, it's one thing if you go for it and you blow it. All right, fine, but at least you went for it. And that's the other thing. Okay, you go for it, you blow it. All right, fine. There's still 2 minutes left in the game. You have all your timeouts, and Tom Brady is at his 8-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay. If
that was it. 8 yards.
You know, if he's at his 8-yard line, lots of bad things can happen when you're deep in your own territory, and bad things can happen. Like, you know, dial up some more pressure, some weird. You get the idea. I didn't want to turn this into a sports show, but yeah, I mean, it's like. Anyway, getting back, like, so.
No, it's been not up to much else. Ivan, I caught your live stream before we went to air. I caught the Next Door Neighbor, and then Facebook muted you when you started playing La Bamba.
La Bamba.
It got too far. It didn't even get to the vocal. It was like da da dun da da dun da. Yep. Facebook was like, nope.
Yeah, well, like I said, see, what's happening is that since I've kind of, went on my own little self-boycott of Facebook because of all the stuff that happened after New Year's Day, and I was just like, but then, I was getting Facebook messages and stuff from some people who followed me on Facebook, and they're like, oh, well, we don't do Twitch and we don't do Mixcloud. We miss having you around and everything like that. And, of course, as you heard today, I explained the situation to everybody. It seemed like everybody understood after what I explained to them that, yeah, as much as I'd like to be on Facebook, there's a whole bunch of attorneys still wanting their money, so that way, the poor dead artists, don't get nothing anyway. Not that they ever did. The same old argument.
Yeah.
But I told them that as much as I would like to do Facebook more often, it's prohibitive, and also too, running the risk of all manner of different things now, from them jacking up the sound to just pulling off without warnings, and taking down, there was a big rumor going around for a while. I think it was unsubstantiated that people's pages and profiles were coming down. I've yet to see that, as of this time and place. But, again, that's something I wanna, entice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
So, yeah, so it's just like, yeah, so but I was on Twitch on Sunday, and had a really good turnout, for my set and everything. And then the Rivera Random Records were just like, again, just random. They just happened. It's like, I'm in the mood to play, so I'm going to play. And, all right, I'll work around, Facebook's little, rule. I treat it like a television show. Facebook is giving me the 10-second pause for the cause. Come right back, and I treat it in that respect, and I'm very flattered, and I'm very humbled at the fact of the people that actually, jump the hurdles with me and come back to listen to the rest of the show. That's it's a big blessing. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by it. And, I'm terrible with accolades. I've always been.
Accolades.
Accolades. With all of that, it's just like, I do it because I love doing it. You dig it, I'm glad. I'm happy, and it makes for good. But other than that, yeah, I did, I did the Motown, the big Motown train on Friday, the past Friday, and, we really got a nice turnout on the Motown, all Motown set, which, we had legendary DJ Clive Jones, we had legendary DJ from Children Fever, Andy Hill, he was on, the Crazy Mod, he's the head of Spinning Wheel, he was on, and then I did the finale, and I stayed on for 3 hours, and because things over there in the UK are just as bad as things are here. As far as they're in yet another big lockdown over there and everything. So they're going through a pretty rotten time, just like we are here. And so just getting the music over there and just trying to send out the goodwill and everything, it's just been very cool since joining Spinning Wheel. And then we started a new page called the Jazz and Blues and R&B page, which started about 3 weeks ago. We're building that up for an entirely different audience who like the jazz, the blues, the R&B page. And then the Nonstop 60s page, which is on Tuesday. By the time this goes to air, it already would have happened. But yeah, we do a thing at Spinning Wheel from 6 to 9 in the evening their time, which would be noon to 3 our time here in Central Standard Time, and it's all nonstop 60s music, which has gotten a lot of reception from a lot of people who are just tuning into that as well. So things with the Spinning Wheel have been really cool.
Good.
And also we started a new thing last week called Roundtable, which is on Wednesday, which of course it's me and Jimmy doing a split screen on Facebook and just answering questions and the occasional needle drops. And believe it or not, we actually got through roughly 3 hours, the first, premiere program. And, but we did a lot of talking and everything, and they didn't mute as many tunes, but, which was cool. And of course, to answer questions and things like that was really very, very nice. People were curious about the history of certain record labels and, artists and whatever, I can bring to the table as far as, being a representative of the United States of America and, just, telling about the tales of the rhythm blues, the soul music that they love so much, the Motown that they love so much. And then what's nice about the Spinning Wheel is that I get to go into all the different avenues, which is very refreshing because it's not far and away from what I've always done with you and Jeff with all of the different types of music we've had over the years when we did the shows together. So, yeah, so the torch still burns, if you will. And so it's been cool. Let me see. Soraya and her boyfriend Russell came over the weekend, and we had a really nice meal, Sunday, and so and of course Julie's been doing really good too. So I'm real happy about that. So things just rolling along, and other than that, yeah, just keeping the wheels of steel rolling,
Cool.
So when the boyfriend comes over, you were like, "Yeah, gotta go oil up the shotgun. I'll be right back."
You have it hanging on the wall above the record.
Yeah. Well, what in actuality, what it kind of flattered me because of the fact that, because of the fact that I remember the first time he came over to meet me, he brought a large pizza with him, and that ended that whole idea. Yeah.
That ended that. Ivan's his new best friend.
An alliance is forged.
Yeah, the alliance was forged right there.
That's right. My life was forged over pizza and weed.
Was it deep dish?
Yes, it was.
Oh, Chicago style.
Oh, wait. On top of the fact that there was pizza, there was weed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you are not going to lay a hand on my dollar. You're going to be on time. I got pizza and weed. Oh, okay. Well, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, yes, Deb, yeah.
Well, not exactly. I mean,
you do whatever you want. I don't care. You come in at 4 a.m. I don't.
Well, but the thing about that makes it amazing, though. What makes it amazing
is the weed.
Besides the weed,
yeah. Weed. There's an answer.
Well, look, being a parent and everything, I would rather have knowledge of the people my daughter is with and what they do and everything. And I have to, in fair play, say, before that part of it even played into it, the guy's intelligent, he's got good working, he works downtown, he's working concierge, which is really nice, they make good money,
That's French, it must be good money.
Huh?
Concierge, it's French, it must be making good money.
Oh. Is it French weed?
No, well, not French weed, but no, but he makes, but like it says, he makes good money and everything. He's a good guy. He treats my daughter well. And you know what? The fact that, he came clean, which that kind of really, that kind of really.
He had weed.
What?
How clean could it have been? He had weed.
Well, you know what? He came to me about it instead of doing it behind my back or doing it with my daughter behind my back. He came right out.
No, he just invited you to have weed with him.
Right, exactly.
Oh.
And
we can all have weed together. It's all good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, here. Let me put this question to you, gentlemen. Okay. All right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to put. No, listen to me.
I'm listening.
Okay? All right. I'm going to put this against. I'm going to put it against you guys. Okay? You have a 21-year-old daughter.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Now, your 21-year-old daughter does not know that you partake up until she turned 21. Okay?
Oh, come on. So, yeah. She never caught on that you smoked weed.
No way.
Let me tell you something. No. My brother didn't know that either. My brother Carlos?
Shit.
No, my brother didn't know that either for years. So let me tell you. So anyway, so I'm posing the picture to you.
All right.
Now,
your family's very imperceptive.
I'm suspending the disbelief. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. They're either very imperceptive or I don't know.
Fine. That's fine. I mean, you know what? The universe knows I'm telling the truth. Anyway, so here's the thing. So here's the thing. Okay, so you guys have your daughter. She's 21. Okay, you yourselves, on and off for years, got involved with a little weed. On and off. Listen, so now, okay, you know what the weed smells like, right? Now, your daughter comes home one night, and she smells of weed. Okay? Do you, ignore the fact that she smells like weed, like a weed garden and everything like that, and just let her just rest it off until the following day? Or do you confront the situation head on and tell her, listen, if you're going to do this kind of thing, let me know, because I know about it. And that's when you come clean.
Especially now that it's legal in Illinois.
But and you're coming clean to your daughter.
Yeah.
Okay? And like I said, she didn't know of my mischievousness until just this year. So, you
left out options.
Well,
you left out options. Like, I let her go to sleep, and then I put a lot of locks on the door. And then right? I put a lot of locks on the door, and she ain't leaving until I tell her she's leaving.
So if your daughter came home smelling of weed,
or you missed the other option, which is I let her go to sleep, or I let her go to sleep, and then I wake her up at 8:00 in the morning with pots and pans on purpose. I'm sorry, is there a problem, honey? What's the deal?
The only problem is that works if people drink alcohol.
Yeah. Pot don't have the same hangover, but
no, pots and pans have none of the effect. No, I'm sorry. See, we can tell that Jeff's never done weed. But that's okay.
Well, me neither.
Yeah.
But.
And you've never done weed here, which that's why, being said. But I'm just saying, but if you did.
So, you're going to. No, I will ignore the problem, and hopefully it'll go away without me saying a word about it. No, of course I'm going to confront her about it.
Okay. Would you, Jeff?
Yeah.
I told you I'd lock her in there and she'd never come out again.
Not till you're 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Fair enough. But I chose the road that I chose. Yeah. I'm glad that I chose the road that I chose.
Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. I'm a horrible parent that way.
That's right.
That's why I don't have children.
It's like that don't do drugs PSA. Where it's all like, the dad was all like, where'd you get this? And Dad's like, I got it from you, Dad.
Yeah, but the thing is, she never got it from me. That's the point.
Not true.
So that's the whole thing. So
right.
I did not.
No, my 20-something-year-old niece.
And I just acknowledged.
Did I ever tell you about this? The 20-something-year-old niece who brought her boyfriend with, and we're having a meal at Malnati. She came up from Indy, and her boyfriend's there, and her father, God bless, been gone for a little bit, and so we're talking. And I'm like, oh, so what you doing? And he's like, yeah, we got to do this. And he's talking about it. And he's like, I'm like, so what is it you're looking to do in the future? He's like, oh, I'm going to be in the NBA. I said, oh, really? Yeah. It was like, oh, so you play basketball? Yeah. Oh, wow. That's great. Where are you playing basketball? And he tells me a junior college name. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, so, and how old are you? And he tells me he's like 20, he tells me he's 24, and he tells me he's playing basketball at some junior college I've never heard of in Indiana. Well, and I'm like, and you're gonna, and you're gonna play basketball in the NBA? Yes. And I looked at her, and I'm like, it was so funny. When she left, I texted her, I'm like, you're dumping his ass. Don't make me do it for you. You're going to dump him. He's a dumbass.
And how long did that go?
Not long.
Yeah.
Not long. I'm like, he has no future. I hope it's just for fun, because that guy has no future at all. He thinks he's going to be he's in junior college. He's playing in junior college at 24. At 24. You better be in the league by 24.
You got to be in your prime by then.
Well, not prime.
So, I mean,
Prime's
like,
in your 30, but yeah, I mean, you're only, no.
He's on the way up at 24, man, but really?
24, you better, and not finish with college, not finish with junior college, in junior college. And I'm like, dude, you better be playing it like overseas in like one of the European leagues, or you better be playing in like the G League, which is like the developmental league. But you're not doing either of those things. It's like, okay, yeah, no, unless you're going to be like an accountant or some shit like that, you're not going to be in the NBA. I didn't say it to him, but I wanted to. But I looked at her, and she had this look on her face like, don't say anything. You had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, she's like, I know what you're going to say. Yeah, you're damn right you know what I'm going to say. Dumbass.
So how was your week, Jeff?
Sorry, Ivan. No.
That's okay.
Kick him in the head. Kick him in the head. Just like, kick her in the head. Just like I said to her, like, I'll never forget. We just had the whole freaking city locked down in Chicago, okay? And I call her to see how she's doing. She's okay. Oh, we're on the way up, actually, to Chicago to come hang out. I swear to God, if she had not been on speakerphone, and I told her afterwards. I told her later, I'm like, you had me on speaker on purpose. And I know you had me on speaker on purpose, because if you hadn't had me on speaker, you know what would come out of my mouth. She started laughing. And I'm like, you put me on speaker on purpose because you knew that was what it was going to sound like. And you just, really? And then she's like, yeah, and she's like, yeah, that was probably not smart. And then I got COVID. Yeah, you got COVID. And you didn't tell me you got COVID either? And then she's like, well, I went on a plane to go see this new guy in Atlanta. I'm like, do you think that was smart? She's like, well, I already had COVID. I should be fine. Oh. You could get it again, right? Well, the odds are really... oh, God.
Oh, no. Oh, Jeff, my poor brother.
Oh, no. And I swear to God, there have been a few times I'm like, if you were not 300 miles away from me, I would get in my car. If there was in the middle of a pandemic, and we weren't you're lucky there's a pandemic, because if there was a pandemic, 300 miles be damned. I'd find a way to get my ass down there. I am going to, love her to death. But I swear to God, that child, she's going to be death of me. But, yeah, I never should have. I shouldn't. It's like, there are days now where I'm like, did I really say I was going to be the godfather of this child? Because maybe this was a bad idea. I didn't realize I was gonna like lose hair over this, but yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Oh my God, I just want to kill. There are days where it's like she's so wonderful. She's so talented. You are.
This is why I don't volunteer for the whole Godfathership thing.
Oh my God. Well, it was.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh, they're both. And the worst part is they're both in their 20s, and it's like one of them is in their 20s, and she's got 2 kids and the husband. But that's they're good. They're good.
No,
I just laugh. It's like.
I take that back, though. You know what? I would be a godfather, but it would have to be a really, really solid, strong attachment to someone I really, really cared about.
Oh, absolutely. No, I love her. And she's great. I love her to death. She's fun. The nice part is that she's the one who is just so funny because she's like, I have questions about the Mandalorian. Absolutely. Love you. That's why I love you. It's like, she's like, explain this from Star Wars to me, because I don't understand. Okay, great.
Boy. She working on the heartstrings, eh, Jeff?
Oh, it's not even the heartstrings. It's just like, she loves all that stuff. She loves, the only thing that I can't, she almost has got me where I might pick up either manga or anime.
No.
It's close. I've been thinking about it because it's like, okay, then I could because she reads it and she watches that stuff, and she doesn't read a lot of the other stuff. But I told her the reason I don't watch anime, and because I told her what happened that time that I saw Akira, and she couldn't stop laughing.
I gave up on that stuff years ago.
Did I tell you what happened? I think I told.
You told us the story of Akira. Yeah.
About where I thought where the guy says, "Oh, it's just like heavy metal," and I'm like, when the time was over, we're like, "That they never even liked heavy metal. This is bullshit." And the best part is, I never saw that guy again. Because if I had, I'd have been like, "You're full of garbage. What are you talking about?" I mean, no, I'm not even close to heavy metal.
No.
First of all, I ain't nobody naked in this thing. Yeah. That's the first problem. Then there's no rock music.
Heavy metal's known for pubes. You ever watch that South Park episode? Pubes.
Yeah. Heavy metal. There's an example. There's an example of it's like, okay.
I hear that pinup girl from heavy metal just recently passed away.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah, it was about I think it was 2 weeks ago. I think.
What have I been up to? I don't know. It's been quiet. Honestly, it's been kind of quiet. I caught something off of Amazon called Red Oaks, and I'm kind of a little bit through the first season, but I think I'm going to dump it. And the reason why is, at first I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Some dumbass, mindless show about a kid who's working at like a country club, like an 80s style country club, kind of like that Caddyshack thing.
Yeah,
that's that. And look, they're showing chicks with boobs. And
hey,
perfect. This is exactly what I want. And there was, there's some cliche stuff, but after a while, and it's funny because Richard, Jennifer Grey is in it, but we don't see anything from her so far. Richard Kind is in it, and then Paul Reiser's in it too as the adults. But the kid is this kid who's in his 20s is an assistant tennis pro, and it's there's all kinds of weird stuff. There's a couple people where he's gonna gonna video a porno for them, and that kind of, or there's wacky hijinks kind of stuff and it's a little bit it has a little bit of that Caddyshack wacky 80s feel to
edgy
it.
80s comedy, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of on the tip of like 16 Candles or
no, more like 80s, those 80s B comedies that
right.
were weird comedies
fast
everybody gets
high.
Well, not even that, the one, I'm thinking of one off the top of my head. I mean, this is a bad one. Like, there's one, like, I think it was, like, Last Resort, and, like, Hector Elizondo's in it, a really young Johnny Depp. The blonde from...
Was it kind of like Rock and Roll High School?
I don't know. But, basically it's one of those B-movie kind of things where it's like...
They'd be on Showtime at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that kind of thing. One of the... Yeah, like that. Like a Cinemax movie kind of thing. But not nearly as... It was like more on the tame side of the Cinemax stuff, where it was like the funsy kind of thing. But hey, they get naked, and it was kind of like a Caddyshack. But after a while, it started to get like less and less fun. So I was like, it started to get like more like, okay, we're getting into the storylines, and that's fine. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, there seems to be this less and less portion of naked women that I need in this show, and or the hijinks have not been nearly as fun, and I may try to push and see a little bit into a little bit further, but I think I'm gonna pass. I've been watching way too much of The Crown, and it's a well done series on Netflix. But at times, it is so slow. I mean, I now have a lot of... It's like, I'm learning quite a little bit about the British monarchy and some things. I'm also learning that it's like, if I was a British monarch, that basically I probably would have started a war.
Speaking of that, I watched Bridgerton on Netflix.
Oh, okay, that's ought to be good. Yeah?
Yeah, okay. So, I'll let you finish and then we'll get to
No, go ahead. Now I'm curious. Now, okay, go ahead. I don't really have that much this week. It's funny because next week is, and it'll happen after this airs, so that's good. I have the 99-second storytelling slam that is going to be it's going to be Sunday, the 31st. And I'm competing, and there's a chance that I can win the Grand Championship, and we'll see. So I got to work on some stories and stuff. So that's the reason why you've been hearing a little bit more stories tonight too. Is okay, get some of that out of me. But yeah, okay, Bridgerton, yes, just thought it'd be good.
Okay, so all right. First off, for starters, I binged it with Julie. We watched it from start to finish.
Oh, how many seasons? Very happy. There's only one.
Oh, it's one?
Well, there's only one season, and they greenlit a second season.
Yep, they already did.
Yeah, they already greenlit a second season. So, was not what I expected. Okay.
What were you expecting?
Was not what I expected. Okay, first off, the overtures for which the bands that were playing, the orchestras that were playing in all the balls, were playing modern music.
Yes.
They were playing modern music. Basically orchestrated to be in the 18th century period. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it was all strings and pianos and everything, but it was all arranged with modern music that you would hear today. You know? And I was, first off, that amazed me, okay? Because I was just like, okay. And then
they're using the wrong music.
What?
No, they did it on purpose. They actually thought...
No, they did it on purpose because they wanted to see if you were paying attention. Okay? And that's what it came. It came a bunch of surprises. The other, let's see if you're paying attention, moments were, okay, the high amount of women of color and men of color that are in this series, okay, which, surprisingly enough, okay, from my understanding of things that I have read about this period, it was about as whitewashed as a fence. But, but seeing black men and black women, Asian women, and all different matter of different races within the framework of the period of time that they placed this thing in. Okay, and...
so kind of like that. It was kind of like Hamilton in that way.
Right.
It was kind of Hamilton-ish in that respect, okay? In fact, there were some Hamilton-ish sensibilities within the framework of the series, like the duel and all of that type of thing that was happening. But, also I noticed, too, the fact that, all right, the lead couple, being interracial, and the fact that there was some really great gratuitous softcore scenes, soft sex scenes. Okay, yeah, you don't get no B or A, but you definitely get the idea of what's going on. And
I laugh because and they're very much geared for women, without question. They're not geared for men. They're geared for women.
No, it's total date bait motion picture for the girls. It is. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's totally.
What's his name's ass is just hanging out there for anybody to see.
Oh, are you kidding? That's
all the time.
I was talking to Julie, and I says, "Yeah, they didn't bother with showing her B or her A, but this guy."
It's okay, Ivan. You can say boobs and ass.
To be seen.
And we can say boobs and ass. Yes, that's exactly what we did. I think we saw her boobs briefly, but otherwise,
maybe a couple seconds. But that guy's ass was everywhere. Are you kidding?
Oh my God!
The girl couldn't take the guy's shirt off fast enough, and then of course the one scene on the stairs, that was pretty extraordinary too, because I didn't know that was hip in those times and places, that kind of thing going on, that kind of a coitus going on in that time and place. I don't know. It was a bit of a throw, but yeah, it happened in the series. Although overall, I have to say the writing, though in parts was pedestrian, but there were some moments that made it funny. There were some moments that made it entertaining. It gave you the fair amount of the romance novel, romantic sweeping away of the guy and the girl, and the love and the passion and waiting for everything to explode onto the canvas type feeling. But put on a soft background of orchestrated modern music, which it almost gave me a feeling of another movie called Streets of Fire, where they kind of went out of time to put it within a time, which, if you understand what I'm trying to say with that. But, but all in all.
See, the problem is, the thing is, Ivan's never. See, Ivan, I don't know how much you've watched anything from Shonda Rhimes before.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, for example, she does that. Her big show is Grey's Anatomy. That's her. That's basically what put her on the map is Grey's Anatomy. That's her show.
Oh, well, I've seen. I've only seen but a few episodes of Grey's Anatomy, so I wouldn't base it on that.
Right, but she's had a few. So she's had and then obviously the other big show that she had was Scandal. So, I mean, and she's had some shows in between. By the way, the guy who's the lead in Bridgerton was one of the guys who was on a previous show that she did that didn't last. That only lasted 2 seasons. Called We the People. That I liked that show. And it was funny the entire time I'm watching. I'm like, this guy looks familiar. I can't figure out from where. I'm like, oh, he was in that We the People show. Got it. But yeah, so she has a habit sometimes of reusing people too. Although that's the only person I recognized from a previous show. But there's a lot of earmarks into this that are very, very Shonda Rhimes. And to me, I kind of laugh because I feel like all of the softcore scenes is like what Shonda Rhimes has always wanted to write in Grey's Anatomy, but never could. Or Scandal because it's network TV. And it's like she's been waiting to write that shit for like a decade or two. Like 2 decades or something.
Right, so it comes down to this whole thing, overall, okay. I would give it a solid 4 mans because, like it says, the interest kept me enough to have me sit and binge through the entire season. The costumes were cool. The cinematography had some great points. The musical intervention as far as like what they did with the music was very engaging.
And what's her name's gorgeous. What's her name? The lead. The lead, she is
beautiful.
Oh
beautiful.
My
God! So you're gonna watch season 2?
Oh, I'm gonna watch the second season once it comes out.
Okay.
You know, and then of course, the fact that the mystery writer ended up being Penelope, that really.
See, I don't think that's who it is. I think that's just a red herring. I really do.
Do you think that's a red herring?
I do.
Okay, well,
and see, that's the other part that bothers. That's the only thing that frustrates me. Is one, I'm just kind of sitting there going, okay, is anybody going to call out Shonda Rhimes for pretty much writing softcore porn? This great supposed writer. And to me, there's kind of this reaction of, yep, we're talking softcore porn. I mean, this is definitely one of those shows where this isn't a man's water cooler show. This is a woman's water cooler show. This is we're out to lunch, and did you see what happened in that one episode where he's like,
this is the new 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, you know what? Bingo. There's exactly. That's a good reference point. And the thing is, it doesn't go that far, but it goes that direction. It certainly
goes
does.
Far enough to tempt you with the imagination. Yeah.
The other thing was, like I said, I think I said when I saw it is, so the lady whistle down thing. What frustrates me about that is, it pretty much is the impetus to anything and everything that goes on in a show, and to me, the other thing is it just reminds me of, like I said, CW had that show Gossip Girl, and to me, I'm kind of like, okay, so basically,
and you know what, and having seen it, and yes, you know what, I would have to agree with you, Jeff, on the Gossip Girl reference. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of elements from Gossip Girl that actually interplayed and interspread from within the framework of the series, you know, and then of course the fact that, you know, she wanted to write softcore porn. Well, you just remember the writer of Harry Potter was an exotic writer before she started writing Harry Potter. So, you know, I guess it's every dream of every person who has written to actually kind of.
It's easier money if you can write it.
It's easier money, right? But
we're all gonna pay the bills.
People attached to that, or some people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a good show. It does what it needs to do.
Well, yeah,
it has its salaciousness to it.
Well, it's sites.
Right, and in fairness, this is, you know, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised it went. You know, keep in mind, this is the first show of a big contract that Shonda Rhimes signed with Netflix. This is the first of those. Like, she signed that contract a couple of years ago. And this is like the first show that's come of that deal. And so
it looks like a hit.
It's a hit. It's interesting because I would have thought, given some of the stuff she's written, I just didn't expect it to be
as big as it got.
Well, I don't know about big. It's like, okay, some of her stuff has been salacious. I just didn't expect her to go. It's like, okay, I can do this on my Netflix. I'm going to go for it. I was a little surprised.
She got daring. She got daring about it.
Yep. She got, again, yeah. I just don't know that it takes away. I don't know if it just takes away from the rest of her artistry, or if it does or it doesn't. But it certainly gets people talking, but at the same time,
you know, don't you think that, you know, a writer and artist would want to expand their repertoire as time goes on and just try to go out into different things? Like, you got some comedians that want to do serious roles, or you got some people in serious roles who want to do comedy. You got some writers that, yeah, they like their little period pieces to stay within their boundary, but then you also have those that want to say, yeah, you know what, a little sex in my life, not necessarily a bad thing, you know?
Well, I guess we're going to see. I guess the answer to that question is, we'll see. I almost hate to say it this way, but, you know, this isn't the only show she's contracted to do. She's contracted to basically write a whole bunch of shows for Netflix coming up. So, whatever is the next Shonda Rhimes show that isn't Bridgerton is going to give us a better feel for what she's going to look like.
Where she wants to go.
Where she wants to go as a Netflix writer versus what people have seen all these years on. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I get it. Network television is an entirely different animal.
Right.
But it certainly, there was some directions that I thought were interesting that she went to that I, you know, and that's not to say you can't be sophisticated or more adult, but I thought that this went, like I said, this kind of went to that 50 Shades area more
right.
than
Well, she was just
more than sophisticated adult. So,
right. Well,
and I was a little surprised by that.
Here's an opportunity. You're on Netflix. Netflix allows you to push a boundary. Would you not push that boundary? If you didn't have anything to hold you back, if Netflix told you, hey, you signed on.
Not every show on Netflix is raunchy or risque.
Right. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But at the same time, Netflix has been known to let the boundaries get pushed out to a degree, to a I don't know if you would say
stuff you can't do on television, obviously, yeah.
Well, yeah,
right.
I mean, but then you can't border off into porn either. See, so you still have this gray area of how sexy can we be at any given time within the framework of a show.
I think that's the one interesting thing that's going to come out of the whole streaming thing is, like, for example, Netflix. In fairness, I there's still a lot to discover on Netflix, but it's like, a lot of these streamers are catering more to, how I put this, they're not going as far as they possibly could on some of these things. And it's interesting because I think a lot of them are afraid of the pushback. I mean, certainly we won't see anything like that on Disney+. In theory, that's the reason why you have Hulu. But it's funny because now they're talking about maybe folding Disney Plus and Hulu together. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works when you try to do more.
Well, see, it's just the mouse just trying to eat more cheese, okay, and just trying to say, hey, we're trying to be the all-encompassing streaming service company, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but
Well, they already are because they've got. I mean, like I said, they've got both. They own both Hulu and Disney Plus. It's just the strategy was okay. We'll do Hulu and we'll do Disney Plus with different types of content available. Right. And I think that there are certain people who are thinking at this point,
why not put them in underneath one roof?
Right, and the thought process is you have more than one. If you have more than one channel, then you double or triple what you do. I'm not sure in the streaming world that makes as much sense as it does in cable or radio or anything along those lines, because it's a different animal.
Well, yes, it is a different animal, and the thing about it is, you would want to get more bang for your buck keeping them separated than trying to go ahead and incorporate them all underneath one roof and make a significant rise in the premium in order to obtain the streaming service. But at the same time, okay, you enter the idea of, okay, people are under the impression, is this okay, it says Disney Plus, but why are there Hulu-style movies underneath Disney Plus when this is supposed to be for the kids, the family, and everything, and the Hulu is the nitty-gritty in the basement blue light stuff, and you're just like, that's a very fine line to try to...
Well, the problem is, to me, is it shouldn't matter... Well, this has been Disney's problem for a while, is that they... Is that there are people whose reaction is that, and this is why Disney had to come up with a bunch of different brand names for their movie companies,
right?
Because of
they couldn't platforms for more adult content,
right? And because they ran into that, which is why is Disney making this kind of movie? Well, why can't Disney make that kind of movie? There's still it doesn't change the fact that they make Disney movies. It's just they should be able to make other types of movies, but. Apparently, people won't do that without changing a name. If it's under Miramax, then it's fine. If it's under Touchstone Pictures, then it was fine. But if it was, if you did Down Out in Beverly Hills under the Disney banner, shit! What the hell you think?
That stuff would never come up in that movie because it's Disney. which, by the way, I mean, the Disney name wasn't always the most premier name always in the world of motion pictures. In fact, for a while, as far back as the late 1960s, Walt Disney Studios was actually considered the motion picture studio of last resort for the longest time, which, of course, for a while it was true. They weren't making, the big blockbuster movies that they were, than they did like in the earlier years, especially after, Walt Disney's death and everything. But, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is that, you got, Disney Plus as the base, streaming service. You got Hulu for all the juicier stuff, plus what they got, Discovery, right? Am I wrong? They got like the Discovery Channel, and they got like several others.
No, that's not
that's
Disney's banner.
That's not our Disney's banner. It's the ESPN Plus, which I still have yet to figure out what the fuck that does.
Okay, all right. But what I'm trying to say is, so they got the content, and they got the way to split the content up into its, to where it best fits the categories of Hulu, Disney, and ESPN. But
the problem is though, like, for example, I see. Here's the problem I have with what you're talking about, and I get it, what you're talking about. But how exactly does The Mandalorian or WandaVision or some of those pieces, or even The Simpsons, how is that Disney, wholesome Disney? I mean, I don't think those are. Well, okay, but that's in Disney Plus.
Yeah, and a majority of Marvel movies are PG-13.
Right.
Yeah, but...
So see, that just kind of almost, when you look at Disney Plus, it's kind of like, I guess, like I said, like the mouse that ate all the cheese. It's like, well, I'm not satisfied with just showing wholesome content. I want the juicier content. I want the racier content.
Of course they did, because there's money in that.
Well, yeah, exactly. The money talks and the bullshit walks, of course.
Well, but then the point is that if that's the case, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's just, I think some of it is about brand protection, and some of it to me is, do you really need brand protection if you're already going in? If you're already going into PG-13? If you're already going into PG-13 on Disney Plus, I'm just not sure that I don't know.
Well, you can create children's accounts where they can where adult stuff can be locked out.
Exactly. I mean, I just don't know why that can't work.
That would be a viable thing to do.
And I think that's what I'm confused by. Is it's like, okay, there's Disney Plus. There's okay, you can lock out the kids out of the adult Disney section, and when I say adult, we're not talking about like Disney doing porn. We're talking about if there's
we're talking about heavier Disney fare.
Yeah. I mean, because for example, to give perspective, all the Clerks movies, like the Jay and Silent Bob, all that stuff, that's all Disney.
Because that's all Touchstone.
Well, no, that's Miramax. That's a Miramax.
And that's also Miramax, right? So you got Touchstone, you got Miramax, which that in of itself has its fair share of pushing the envelope type, content.
Right. Well, that's honestly, in fairness, the thing is that Disney was smart. Disney made 3 really smart purchases in a row at a time when, really, in reality, other people should have made some of those moves and didn't. And that's the difference as to why Disney is where they're positioned, where they're at now, which is, okay. I mean, I kind of
they need to have the streaming service be a very solid, because right now, the parks are just getting back up to speed again.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I mean, I'm talking about, like, I kind of laugh because I don't know what how things landed with when Lucas decided to sell Lucasfilm, but it sounds like At no point was Fox involved in the conversation, which is strange, because up until that point, Fox had basically done all.
Yeah, 20th Century Fox is all the Star Wars movies came out on.
Right, did all the Star Wars movies. Just like, it's kind of funny, which is, Paramount was doing all the Marvel movies through even Avengers, but CBS and Paramount never put two and two together to go, hey, you know what? Let's buy Marvel Comics. They never had that thought process of that. I know at some point there was talk of that there were studios looking at the time about buying Pixar, and that's why Disney made the
because
move.
they knew they couldn't get Spider-Man because Spider-Man was owned by Sony.
Yeah, I guess, but by that point, the interesting part though is by the time Disney bought Marvel, they had done Iron Man 2, the Captain America movie, the Thor movie, and the Hulk.
Yeah, the Edward Norton one.
Of those movies, with the exception of the Hulk, everything performed pretty well. Well enough for if I was, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm like, seriously, it's like, why wouldn't, seriously, you're Universal, you have the rights to the Hulk. Well, okay, why wouldn't I just buy all of Marvel? That would have been smart.
Maybe money wasn't in the cards when it came to something that big. It's a big thing.
Marvel wasn't willing to, to get bought.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. You know what we do know? We do know that WandaVision episode 3 came out. Thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, it's good. I think this episode being in the 70s, so it's like a Partridge Family, Brady Bunch kind of vibe. And yeah, it's good. It's still good. I'm interested to see where it's going. We know this is obviously we talked about this last episode. Go back to last week's episode. We talked about episodes 1 and 2 of WandaVision. And
we should probably say this. If you haven't seen episode 3, now would be a good time to boogie out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put a pause here or go ahead for a few minutes.
So, episode 2 teased that Wanda was all of a sudden pregnant, and Wanda seems to be doing these resets. We even now Vision, kind of where they break that wall, and Vision's like, something's not right. And so Wanda's like, nope, fixing this. And it's like, it's all better. It's back in the sitcom. The laugh track's back, and the corny comedy hijinks. And it played out like an episode of, like you would, like either the Brady Bunch or whatnot. And Wanda gives birth to twins. And we have more of I think it's the same. I think same Geraldine is the same name as Monica Rambeau but now we don't know. But she's outed because she starts talking about Pietro, and it's like and that was like, and she starts singing in Sokovian. Yeah, that was a deep moment, and but then Monica brings up the fact that Pietro was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? And she's like, who are you? And then she kind of finds she was able to remove her from this construct or this reality that she's living in. And we see like the camp like shield built around Thor's hammer in the first movie. They think that's where maybe Wanda is maybe inside this kind of protected facility that all this is happening in with Wanda. So, but yeah,
well, and
good.
That's so that becomes the real question to all this is that it's like, for example, that first. It's interesting because I hadn't thought about it until now, which is that first the in the past when I shouldn't say that, but so far when things have been strange, we've seen Wanda actually do something about it. When Vision goes into that whole thing where he goes into the logic train and says, like, something doesn't seem right, something dawns on me. We didn't see Wanda actually do the edit. It just, suddenly there's an edit. There's like a jump cut. And it just restarts.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, like, in episode 2, when we see the beekeeper, she goes, "No, go away," and we see a whole bunch of things happen.
Reset. Yeah, do you see the actual...
Right, you see her actually do something. We didn't actually see her do anything.
Yeah, it might... Maybe it's an error or a glitch or something in this thing, and the neighbors, we're going to tell Vision something, but...
right.
But Vision, as far as we know, he's part of it. So when the neighbors are talking over the fence, and he's like, "What's going on, you two?" He's trying to hide the fact that his wife is, all of a sudden 9 months pregnant. And the neighbor's like, "No, don't tell him that we're, and we don't know yet." So what the
other thing is, like the doctor said, it's like, it's not why I was going to be able to go on vacation anyway. Nobody ever leaves here.
He uses the word escape.
Escape. Yeah, nobody ever escapes here. And
it peaked an eyebrow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it just becomes a question of there's a lot of aspects of this where it's okay. You're slowly but surely teasing that the shoe's going to drop at some point. How can I say?
What was the commercial? It was like for Hydra bath oil or something.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Somebody said that there was something in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. about Hydra was using a soap or something to do something, and they think that that's a connection to that. But that's the second. I shouldn't say second. That the first reference is Stark. The second reference is the Sokovia guys. Although that was Hydra too, wasn't it? It was.
The Watch, right?
That was, right. Well, yeah, the Watch was technically Hydra too. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, okay, so we've seen one thing where it was Stark and two things that it was Hydra. And I'm just like, like I said, I think I'm...
Yeah.
There's a part of me where I'm like, I think I'm ready for there to be less sitcom and more for me to get some answers.
Well, we're running out of decades. We're on the 70s now, so... How many episodes was this? 6 or 8? I forgot.
9.
9? Okay. Well, then shit's going to get real soon.
Well, you would think so.
You would hope so. But I know a lot of people I've seen comment sections on threads or whatever, people posting, on Disney Plus's Facebook or whatever, saying, "Worst series ever, can't stand it, too dumb." And they say, just like, you're not seeing the long game. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking at how this is going to all pan out at the end.
Right. Well, it's why, there again, this is where, honestly, this is exactly why there's, in some ways, it's like, I would like to have seen this as a bingeable versus, okay, once a week, every week. Because I think that until things happen, we're not going to realize what exactly happened. And we're going to have to go back and watch it again and go, oh, now that makes more sense. Aha, that was something that I didn't pay attention to, or I didn't notice, or I wasn't thinking about. So I think it's going to be kind of like that. But
no, I'm okay with once a week because of the strange format. The way these episodes are, I think I'm okay with 30 minutes a week.
I guess I'm kind of. I think at this point, my reaction is, I'm ready for more. I'm ready for a little bit more depth. I'm ready for you to give me a little bit more. How is this all happening?
Yeah, we want. I'm still good for a couple more, maybe 1 or 2 more, but it's time for a payoff soon, and we're gonna get it. I'm sure we're gonna get it.
Or something that at least is gonna something to sink my teeth into, because the sitcom stuff is cool. It's fine, but it's really clear to anybody who's watching and knows the situation. Yeah, there's something going on. This doesn't, and there's too much stuff that doesn't make any sense. And it's like, you gotta give us a little bit of something. Again, the thing that throws me off is, as we talked about it, and I checked, he's wearing,
Ivan, you mute your microphone, please.
What happened?
No, you're hot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're hot, baby.
Okay.
There you go.
But like I said, he's got the Mind Stone, so it's very confusing in that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do you think Western...
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, do you think the town is a real town?
No. It's all fake.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, it keeps
changing. I'm not sure anymore.
It might... I mean, we're seeing... I don't know yet. Like the thing, we're waiting to find out what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem too. It's like, is this a real town? Is this not a real town? What exactly? I mean, there's.
Or is it all just in her head?
Yeah, it might be.
Right, but it doesn't. It might be, but yet the way that the end of the last episode ends, no, it looks like this is a real place and that there's really something going on.
People are leaving this fake world. We saw that when she sees the sword logo on her necklace or whatever, and it's not that maybe Wanda maybe half remembers what it is, and she's just blocking it out. She wants to live in this fantasy, but we've seen that Wanda can expel people from this town, from this world.
It's funny. I now have a crazy theory on this.
Crazy conspiracy theory.
Tinfoil hat.
Well, I mean, so the problem is I don't. As much as I know things about Marvel, there's still a lot I don't know about Marvel. And the only thing I keep coming back to is, I do think the town's real. I do think that this is some sort of alternate reality. I do think what you said is true about that she's happy or okay with where she's at. I think she's interacted with some sort of artifact or some sort of alien thing. Like maybe she was called by SWORD to come in and check out this artifact, or the Avengers, or something along those lines. And in that interaction, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And now she's sort of comfortable.
Well, or she could be running away from something, and this is all just like a refuge of sorts.
Well, yeah, right. I think that's part of it, because now she has, Vision and her two kids, which is the reason, she lost her kids, why she went insane in House of M.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but the point being
this could be a room in her head.
Yeah.
Well, the point being is I think with the way that the things looked at the end of the episode 3, it looks like Westfield is a real, or Westview or whatever it is a real place. So the only thing I can think of is if it's a real place, then maybe there's something that she interacted with there that is creating this. And
when you think about now, like you're in the end credits and you see the water tower and the gazebo in the credits at the end. I think you might be right that the town is real. At least real in the sense we know it.
Right. I think it's see that's
unless of course the town is real, but for some way or another she's caught up in this void, and that everything in this void is there to acknowledge or to deny something that happened to her in a previous lifetime.
Well, the point I'm getting at, though, is, Ivan, is like, for example, like, the problem that I'm having is like, for example, okay, obviously it can't be, like, there's been items, like, obviously there are the stones, there was the cosmic cube. Obviously it can't be the cosmic cube, for obvious reasons. But there are other artifacts or other things within Marvel that it could be. And the problem is it's one of those where it's like, that's the kind of stuff I don't have knowledge of that as well in my Marvel Rolodex. If this was DC Comics, I could be like, okay, here's what I theorize this could be.
Marvel, you don't have the artifacts within that universe like, say, your other universe. So
right, exactly. They exist. I just don't have the mental. I didn't read enough Marvel and those aspects to be able to sit there and go, here's an item that could do this. That could do this, and basically be that way. Because I'm beginning to believe it's an item. Because like you said about the Thor thing, where they're surrounding it like the Thor thing, well, maybe there's an artifact there, and they brought her in to interact with it, and I don't know. It's the only thing I could come up with, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough.
Or maybe there isn't. I mean, this is just a tie into the multiverse in that sense. Maybe they're jumping. Maybe she's jumping universes.
Or maybe it could be just standing on its own too.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We shall see. I'm still in. I'm all in still because it's Marvel and I'm watching it, and I would like to see the interactions, and it's great performances too. So.
Well, and yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is, frankly, right now it's the
only thing we got right now.
With the exception of Batwoman that started, it's the only superhero game we got in town right now.
You watch episode 2 yet?
Yeah, Batwoman? And I'm not sure I'm sticking. I gotta be honest, I'm not sure I'm sticking around. I think the actors are good, and I like the actors, but I'm not
feeling the stories.
Like
the story doesn't sustain it.
I'm not okay. So you're in episode 2. Now we've got past all the junk you need to fix. And you're still kind of fixing a lot of your junk that you have problems with from the previous season, and the fact that you've totally changed the entire main character. And I get that it's going to take a little bit of work to figure all that out and do it. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't know. I don't know it's going to work.
Well, I'm saying, were they careful in the presentation of the new characterization, or do you think they just jumped in with both feet and hope it stuck?
Well, they're still trying. Obviously, they're trying to fix. They're retconning the Ruby Rose's departure, and they're inserting this new character, but there's still some house cleaning to do.
Right. There's still some aspects where they're trying to make this new character fit in seamlessly, and yet this other character's gone. And keep in mind, there's already been stories that are built with all these other previous with all these other cast members that were around for season 1. And so, yeah, there's a part of me where I'm like, yeah, I mean, they honestly,
it almost seems like the slash and burn, actually.
No, it's not slash and burn.
No.
It's just it's there's a lot of moving parts to this, and I don't know that this writing crew is going to do well enough or fast enough to make me want to stick around. Well, or to make me want to stick around to find out how this is going to work.
Okay, so Jeff,
or if it's going to work at all.
Maybe if it fixed, if they put in, if they reinsert, they change it again. The new Batwoman could be either Ganella or Sabilla. Who do you think?
Might say Ganella.
No.
Ganella or Sabilla?
None of the above.
None of the above?
None of the above. I mean, that's the sad part is I like the actress who they've chosen. I think she's a good actress. I do think, how do I put this, that there's some things about the character that I'm like, I don't know. It just, I don't know. I feel bad because I think that there's some, I think there's some good actors in it. I think that the other part that's sad is, and East Coasters get mad when I say this, but I am convinced Gotham is Chicago. I don't care what anybody says, and Bob Kane may have made it New York, but the truth is, to me, is Chicago fits Gotham so much better.
But isn't it on an ocean? Like in the Nolan trilogy, Gotham was on what ocean side?
No, Gotham is Chicago.
Well, I mean, we filmed in Chicago.
Right.
Well, I suppose.
With the exception of the last one. Which was Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Right.
But the fact that even Nolan was like, yeah, Chicago fits what Gotham should look like. is to me like, yes, I think Gotham, if you're going to film Gotham, then Gotham should look like Chicago more than it should look like New York or...
Yeah, I think so.
I think it has a...
It's filled with people ready to believe in good.
Yeah, well, there's, I mean, in fairness, I mean, I get that Gotham was based on New York's grittiness, but the truth is Metropolis was also based on New York, and I always kind of laugh about it because it's like, if Metropolis is New York,
yeah,
then Gotham really can't be New York either. I mean, it's funny because in the DC universe, there's New York, there's Metropolis, and there's Gotham.
Right. They're not substitutes, right.
They're not substitutes.
Right. But in the Christopher Reeve Superman, you can clearly see the World Trade Center as he's flying around with Margot Kidder.
Right. Well, I mean, in fairness, to most people, Metropolis is New York. Yeah. It is that. That's why I kind of laugh when I sit there and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that. It's kind of funny because Pittsburgh would make sense too. Pittsburgh's gritty like that. I just think Chicago looks a little bit more glamorous than Pittsburgh, and so it fits more a little bit more. But
I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be the unfortunate part is that it's, okay, here's a CW superhero series that's getting shot in Chicago a lot. So it's like, damn, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But, or at least a little bit. I'm trying to think about if there's any. I guess we can go to news at this point.
Yeah, let's see what we have. And some of these articles you can find them on the Squares page, obviously.
Yep. I know the big news that was out today is that, I shouldn't say big news, but one of the things that was out is, and I don't know why they weren't thinking about this in the first place, which is, I guess HBO Max is in the process of working on developing a Harry Potter series for HBO Max, which I would have thought they would have had that a long time ago, but that's just me. What do I know?
Well, the thing is, I think, I mean, is Harry Potter by and large still, validated? Is it still a valid thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, outside of...
because of the... Well, I don't know, because the author's anti-trans stance has taken has made a dent in the hardcore fan base the last couple of years.
Right, there's that. Yeah. But
okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. All right, yeah, you're trying to go ahead and try to make up a whole new Harry Potter situation. Now, are you going to extend upon what's already been completed, or are you going to actually just revamp the thing in its entirety?
They haven't said they don't. No. It hasn't gotten that far.
Well, okay. So my opinion to you is what do you think they should do if indeed they do that? What do you think?
Don't have a horse in this race for Harry Potter, so not.
I mean, should they go back to the beginning and just revamp everything that's been done?
Well, they're doing the prequel series, the Fantastic Beasts or whatever.
Okay. Or do you exemplarize what's already been established? Okay, so I see that they're just still going ahead with it. Okay, and for television, I mean, do you think that there's enough there to actually fulfill that content for the Harry Potter? I mean, especially for the hardcore fans.
I'll be honest and say that I have not read the series. I know that it was funny. The articles that I've seen have listings about certain time frames that they think certain people would be excited about. That apparently there's a time frame in there that might be worthwhile. I'll be honest. I get tired of these series where we move backward. And when I say backward, it's like, okay, we're gonna do prequels. We're gonna do things from before. Like, that's another reason why. And it's been a trend that people have done, which is And now we're going to go back further into the beginning of time, and it's like, no,
I want to go ahead.
I'd like to see you move the story forward. Like honestly, if it was me, I would love to see them. I mean, if you really want to do something off the wall, if you really wanted to go off the wall, it would be okay. 100 years after the last Harry Potter movie.
Okay, so...
And when I say the last Harry Potter movie, with actually Harry Potter in it.
Okay, so we're getting a century ahead of time and seeing what the new characters would, learn from the original characters.
Set it in the future. Set it in the future where there's better technology, and how does that relate to wizarding, and...
I mean, 100 years... you put a whole century, it becomes everything from the culture to the clothes to the magic to the wizardry to the spell incantations.
And then you're also not beholden to, because the obvious thing is, Harry Potter has kids, Ron and what's her name have kids. Oh, you could do an entire show that way. But if you don't want to have to worry about the continuity of that and all that type of stuff and figure out how you're going to do that, you could jump way into the future where you don't have to do that. Or, you know what? Hey, look, what if you jumped 50 years in the future where all those kids are now, how can I say?
Older.
Maybe even
they're the elder.
Maybe they're grandparents and these are their kids. And you could,
Which I think for my money, I think that would be for me, I would go 50 years. I would think that'd be the most viable thing. And then, of course, it would be rich in content. It'd be rich in, dialogue, as to what they could do. I mean, they could bring that in so many different directions that would not almost cross over what happened already in the previous, Harry Potter series.
Harry Potter, the next generation, and make the kid proud.
Well, it's funny you say that, but it's funny because you went there, Mike, because I would say that's where Gene Roddenberry succeeded and why him moving the Star Trek universe forward worked. Is because Gene Roddenberry realized
he evolved.
That he needed to have that kind of time jump to do what was needed to be done to make the series to make the series more viable and to move things forward. And I think a lot of these people's reactions, and it's funny because one of the people who was the biggest culprits of this was George Lucas, which was, I'm going to go backward and I'm going to give you 1, 2, and 3. When in reality, you could have given us 7, 8, 9.
Well, those were what the Star Wars fans call the dark times. After Return of the Jedi, there were no more toys, no more movies, no more nothing. In the mid-'80s, so Star Trek flourished when there was no Star Wars.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, which is, Lucas decided, okay, I want to make episodes 1, 2, and 3. He could have decided to make episodes 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
He could have, but he didn't.
No.
And in fairness,
he wanted to tell the story of Anakin Skywalker.
Right, but that, to me, the reason I'm saying that is, look at the trend that happened after that, which is it's like, okay, we're going to do Lord of the Rings, and then we're going to go back and do The Hobbit. Okay, we're going to do Harry Potter, and then we're going to go back and do
Fantastic Beasts, right.
We're going to go do Fantastic Beasts. I mean, it's just been a trend since
prequels,
that
prequels,
and you see that this trend is pretty much, worn out its welcome, in your opinion.
No.
And that
not if the stories are good.
None of the stories are good, but again, I just feel like, I feel like what we're seeing more of is either go back in time, basically reboot it entirely.
Right.
But what we're not really seeing as much of is, okay, let's take the continuity that we had and move forward. 7, 8, 9 was the first time in a while where we've seen anybody go, okay, we're going to move forward. If we hadn't moved forward, we wouldn't get in The Mandalorian.
True.
You know, Mandalorian's technically 4. I mean, although I shouldn't say that. I guess technically it's before 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
But to me, I kind of laugh because it's 4. It's more forward than anything else we've been doing.
No, it's forward from the original trilogy, which in most fans, that is their bread and butter.
Right. So.
Ah.
Yeah, like I said, that's that. Mike, you said you watched the Godzilla Kong trailer. I did not get a chance to watch it.
Yeah,
thoughts?
Ganella versus Sabilla. Yeah, it was awesome. I did see King. That was the last one they did. King of Monsters. Was that the Godzilla last one they did? Where it was. Yeah, I saw that in the theater last. That was the one before this. They teased the King Kong in the post credit sequence. It was, but like everything is the next movie's always teased in the post credit scene. But so this movie was in the works, but now it's finally, going to be coming out. So yeah, it's fine. I mean, the last one was good. Saw it in the theater, and it's fine. So yeah.
And now I'm going to make Mike cry.
Monsters, make me cry, please. It's Monday.
So there's a report out from Variety that says that they're going to delay Black Widow again.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Are they just waiting for that box office money? They ain't gonna get it this year.
This is why I keep laughing because
you gotta feel sorry for Scarlett Johansson at this point.
The
movie's been in the can for a fucking year.
Right out of the box office.
A fucking year it's been in the can.
Well, like I said, they're going to move it right out of the box office is what's going to happen.
There is no box office.
Guys are going to want to see it.
People are going to want to see it. I mean, I
want to see it.
Yeah. Well, and this goes back to as much as Warner Brothers is getting absolutely trashed by movie people and directors and actors and all that stuff. Meanwhile, they're going to get their shit. Like, they got a movie that's coming out here in the next week or two. I can't remember who's in it, but they've got one that's coming out where they're advertising that it's coming. Actually, I think it's on the Squares page. I've started to see ads for it. But I got news for you. Say what you want. They're going to get their movies out. And, maybe they're not going to make the box offices they want, but they're going to get their movies out and,
And now we're at a point where we can start filming content at a higher rate so we can get that out to people.
Right here, this is what it is. It's a movie called The Little Things. It's premiering on the 29th on HBO Max.
Yeah, with Rami Malek and Denzel.
Jared Leto and Denzel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it'd be nice if we could go to the movies. But let's be honest, people aren't going to the movies right now because of COVID. If that's the case, then you need to, you kind of need to own that. But it just seems like some of these studios are going to kind of try to wait this thing out until they can get real box office. And it's like, this is where like I said, this is where I laud Warner Brothers, which is, hey, you know what? We're going to go. We're going to go, and we're not going to worry about if we don't make the numbers, but we'll figure it out along the way. It'll work out in the end, and I think they're right.
Mm. Yep. Oh, you see that Wonder Woman 84 lost its certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
Yeah. Although the audience ratings is still like 74%, and that's not bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I gotta be honest. They should all be really, really glad that did not come out.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pay $15 to see that.
I mean, I'm not sure what that would have looked like. I'm not positive that we wouldn't be talking about if this was in the movie theater. I'm not positive we wouldn't be talking about a setback for DC.
Yeah.
Had they gotten it to the theater, had they gotten that audience, if we didn't have COVID going on and people actually went to see the movie in the theater, I bet you it would have made for a much higher.
If COVID didn't exist, if there was no COVID, let's live in fantasy land here for a minute. Mm-hmm. If COVID did not exist and this movie was in the theater, we'd have serious doubts about the future of anything in this DC extended universe. We would not be talking about a Snyder cut.
Right.
Well, we would still be talking about a Snyder cut.
Yeah, if this came out, this came out last year at the time it was supposed to go out.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I'll tell you this. There'll be a lot of scrutiny about this Suicide Squad movie that's coming out from James Gunn, and there'll be a lot more pressure on this movie has to hit.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie has to be a hit because, really, in reality, honestly, I think Wonder Woman 84 would have done something really, really similar to what Superman Batman did, which was the first weekend of Superman Batman, the numbers were there.
Yeah, but then...
And it was really good. And
then it nosedived.
Right, it just nosedived.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of is, okay...
People are okay. People can justify it because they saw it for free on their streaming service, and not, maybe people are less harsh on it because they saw it for free.
Right. Well, and the other thing is maybe it might have been a little bit less of a nosedive. Maybe there's a 2-week bump, but that movie wasn't going to be. I mean, a month after 2 weeks, I don't see that movie making the kind of money I think they thought it was going to make.
No.
I just don't. I mean,
they'll be lucky if they break even on it.
Well, at this point, it's a different animal. But like if we had the magic world where we didn't have COVID and this had been released, I think there's a lot different conversation going on right now about this movie, about where DC's going in the future with films, can they ever make a real hit movie? This was supposed to be the next big hit that DC was the first real big hit for their franchise to build around, and it didn't turn out to be one. I mean, honestly, in some ways, it's not been talked about as much, but Wonder Woman 84 is almost as polarizing as Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice. When you talk to people. Yeah. There are people out there that are really like, oh no, it's a great movie. I don't know what you're talking about. I loved it. And there are a lot of people whose reaction.
I watched it with my daughter. She loves it. Or then there's the comic book guy from Simpsons. It's the worst movie ever.
I wouldn't go that far, but it was funny. I saw an opinion piece from somebody going, "Do superhero movies have to end with a fight?" And I'm just like, is this really now your new justification for why it's okay for Wonder Woman 84 to have ended the way it ended? Is that where we're trying to go for now? Is okay?
Well, it's either that, or we've had even with Justice League, and we had it with the first Wonder Woman. We had the hero fighting the gray CGI monster.
Yeah.
But at least we had Cheetah, and it seemed like that was the only reason why she was there, was just to have the fight, which was in the third act technically, but it wasn't at the end.
Yeah.
Because the final battle was just a stern talking to, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I think that's there's certain people going, see, she didn't have to use violence to. Yeah, but it also wasn't done well.
No.
It wasn't done well. I mean, it just didn't.
There are many different ways. There are many different ways to present a scene.
Yeah, well, just wasn't structured right, or wasn't.
Well, it was funny because at first,
correctly according to what you guys are saying.
No.
Well, it's funny because initially my reaction was, okay, this seems to be splitting men women on this, and then I've seen women who are like, no, this movie sucks. I'm like, oh, okay, and I've seen guys who are like, no, this movie's great, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, so it's not a
gender thing. Yeah, it's not a gender thing. Yeah.
there are just some people who liked what they saw and some people didn't. But I think it's as divisive as the Batman versus Superman Snyder thing in some ways because of that. It's just
Yeah, guys, my question to you, excuse me, for interjecting, but my question to you guys is, okay, under these circumstances, do you feel that the people that are more, like the comic reading book, the comic book reading masses against, like, say, the masses who watch the movies on their own merit without having read the comic books? I mean, where do these movies fall in that particular?
Well, they fall in their own category. I mean, you've got a lot more normies watching these movies rather than just the hardcore fans who've read every trade paperback. So it's their own entity. They can change the rules. They can take different paths, and sometimes it works really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people right now where it's kind of an interesting thing, Ivan, which is with all the stuff that's gone on with superheroes having this explosion in terms of the money that's out there, we're not seeing, how do I put this? We didn't see a same explosion in comic buying. That didn't happen.
It hasn't translated to
It hasn't translated at all.
No.
Okay, so basically, in relation to the comics becoming the things that the comic book buying public going to the movies, but then the people that are in the movie going public doesn't necessarily translate into sales of comic books. Is this what I understand?
Yeah, I would say the percentage of those people that saw the movie and said, "Hey, I want to buy comics," is smaller.
A vast minority that's creating interest in past books. Like someone will say, "Oh yeah, I love that Iron Man 2. I'm going to go read up on Whiplash." And so that's in the minority.
So basically, there are pros and cons to this concept. Then,
well, I mean, here's the thing: the way you almost have to look at it is like this. All the content that's being created by people who write comic books is essentially like script writing. Okay. Which is, okay, here's the possibility of basically these comic books are essentially, okay, if they find something that's a good story that they can build around, okay, this could be a multi-million or billion-dollar movie.
Okay.
And so, really, in reality, this is their lab. Comic books is kind of their lab in some way, shape, or form. It's one of the reasons why certain people's reaction about where the industry is going is interesting because, yes, the industry isn't really necessarily growing the way it should. And there are questions about how much it costs and digital and not digital and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons why it's all able to be justified, even though there's been cuts and things along those lines, is, when Aquaman makes all that money in the movie theaters, okay, well, where did that come from? That came from these scripts and these people, and that's.
Well, these people that actually put their belief in the character,
or that they created something that was a worthwhile script, and we're now we're going to take it and we're going to use it and we're going to make it our own thing and adapt it and put it on the big screen.
Okay, so here's my also a question. Okay, and I know that since we're going into, and we've been whirlwinding into the digital age over the last couple of decades and such. Okay, do you see actual trade paperbacks and actual paperback comic books disappearing altogether in lieu of the digital format, or do you still, just like records, there are people out there that still want a tangible article, something they can actually buy and collect and hold on to, and then they become heirlooms later, or of course if they hold on to it for the resale value and such. I mean, are the numbers as prominent or more prominent or less prominent in this arena, or what do you think?
I don't see a comic book stand in 50 years. I don't see it.
Yeah, I can see where Mike is. I hope Mike's wrong, but I understand why he's making that statement. I think it'll take some time.
It'll take a generation or two before.
Yeah,
but printed media isn't going to go away 100%.
Yeah, I don't know if leaflets will be a thing.
Yeah, Lucy's or whatever you want to call it, individual.
Like the Lucy's. Yeah, I don't think that the monthlies will be a thing. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think the singular monthly issue will be a thing.
No.
I think there might be a monthly release of for example, Batman for the year will come out in 1 month in a trade paperback.
Yeah, so that
will be Batman. And that will be Batman. And that's
right. And then so that also gives it a place where it almost becomes binge worthy, because then now if they're doing it in this way, you'll be able to go through, like, say, if the Batman series goes into 6 months, and you pretty much got the entire continuity,
like a monthly. It'll be a monthly drop on digital only, and then you'll have to wait 3-4 months for the trade, and then you can buy a physical book.
Well, the thing is, there's enough business out there on, even whether it be locally at bookstores. And when I say this, I'm not even talking about comics. I'm talking about bookstores. Okay. There's enough business out there on the trade paperback market and the graphic novel market that it's still worthwhile to have comics in that format. And so, yeah, maybe you are doing, maybe instead of you're giving them out, you're doing Batman every month. Maybe Batman comes out every 3 months.
Every 6 months.
Or 6 months or something like that. And then, that trade paperback isn't just available in your comic book store. It's
as
it's
more
available,
and more people are getting away from physical.
It's on
media.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: it's on Amazon, and you can ship it in. You'll have it tomorrow because that's Amazon.
Yeah.
And because there are people. I mean, look, I know people where it's like, hey, I'm buying trades. I'm not going to the store. It's too expensive to go to the store.
Yeah.
I'll go to Amazon.
Yeah.
There are things that can be done. I also had a thought. Can you imagine you have the option of actually, downloading and being able to print it yourself at home to actually have a tangible copy? That in and of itself can become a money maker all on its own.
People aren't printing books at home. You know how much printer ink costs these days?
No way.
Yeah.
You don't see that?
I don't see people printing books at home. They'll read it on their tablet.
No.
Okay,
not unless.
That's why I threw that out there, because I was curious to see how you guys would have thought about that.
Not at the current based on what Mike's saying, and he's right. If that ever changes, then sure, but that's not changing anytime soon. Nobody's printing on their own personal printer in full color an 100-page book.
No.
Sure.
On PS, and then you got to go get good paper.
Yeah. And be sure you don't have enough ink in those cartridges, or
right.
I got obviously February tax season's coming, and I do my taxes here. And I gotta be sure I get a black ink cartridge here, and that's what $25-$30.
Yeah.
So I guess I still print my taxes when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's gonna download a book and then print it.
Well, I was just curious. Yeah. I mean, it was just a thought that came in my head.
Valid question.
No, again, I mean, the thing that's interesting about, and I think we talked about this last week, which is the question about digital continues to be, and this is where I have my issues with digital, is why is it so much money to buy a digital? Why is it the same cost for me to buy
to
buy a digital copy as it costs to buy a paper copy, and I'm not getting
because
paper?
If it was less, it would kill the paper industry.
Well, that's not it either. They still need to pay.
Yeah, still got to pay the artists and the writers.
They still got to pay the artists. They see, this is where the problem is. The problem is, for the kind of money that I could spend on comics, kind of money we could spend on comics, right. I can, like, Mike, I'll give you an example. Mike, what was the price of the last animated DC Comics movie you bought?
Oh, it was what, 15? I think it was on sale. Usually when you get them on release date, the DVD is what, $15.
15? Okay.
Maybe if you're like maybe 20, maybe 18.
So $15 for a animated feature
on DVD because I'm old like that. I like the physical medium.
No, I understand, but the point I'm being is
nothing wrong with that.
The point I'm getting, but even that, Mike's willing to pay $15 because it's a what? Maybe it tops 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
And it's high quality. They get good actors, all that kind of stuff. That's $15.
Yeah, I'm willing to pay it. So
for him,
you get what you pay for, and
wait, guys. But here's my point: to get a complete story like Mike just got for $15 in comic books, assuming that it's only a 1-year story, that's if it's a half a year, that's 30.
Yeah, it's
at minimum
$5 an issue, right?
I think.
Aren't Lucy's $5 now, or are they still $4? I don't know.
I think they're $5. I think.
Yeah, I think they're $5.
But the point being is whether they're $4 or they're $5. Okay, we're talking about almost $30 there.
Yeah,
if it's a full year,
6-issue arc is $30. Yeah.
Right. If it's a full year, that's $60.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But I could buy a DVD with a fully encompassed story with all the characters that I like or I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And I get paid $15.
Wait a year and you can get the trade on sale somewhere.
Right.
But even the trade might be, you know.
I hear you.
That's upon availability, even if they even do the trade.
Well, right. In some books they don't do the trade at all. But the point being is, why if I'm a parent and my kid wants to see Superman, I'd rather pay $15 for a Superman DVD movie than all this money to buy
a story that you might not hold his attention.
Right. And it's expensive.
Yep.
That's where I think the industry fails. Is okay? I can go watch the Avengers on the Avengers movie is 3 hours and it's $15. Okay, great.
And right now it's free on Disney Plus for $8 a year.
Right. Well, and that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I can watch Disney. I can watch it on Disney Plus anytime I want. Here, kids, you want to watch Marvel stuff instead of buying the books? Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go.
And
P.S. Here's all the cartoons too.
Yeah, and here's the Fox X-Men films too.
Right. I mean, that's where they're gonna have trouble. Is you're competing. I can buy a song for $1. I can buy a DVD for $15. I can go to the movies for a certain amount of money.
It comes back to paying $18 for a CD.
Yeah, and that's, and I get it. You got to pay people. I totally understand. I just haven't figured out how they're going to do this and make this work where people get paid.
No.
And
we're only fretting about how people get paid in the sense that we want them to continue to make it.
Yep.
We want to continue to make good content.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, and in fairness, this is let's put this in perspective. without those, I mean, I almost hate to say it. You call comic books incubators. I mean, without an incubator like that, we don't get Robert Kirkman. We don't get The Walking Dead. Robert Kirkman never signs this huge, monstrous deal that he's got with Amazon now to put out content or to create this whole Walking Dead franchise like he has. Or, Mark Miller, who created Wanted and Kingsman and all those guys, he's got a deal like Shonda Rhimes with Netflix. And they're putting out comics for him too. I mean, but those guys had to start somewhere. All these guys like Jeff Johns started with comics a long time ago. I mean, it's been an incubator to launch people to be able to do TV writing, to do movie writing, to be producers out there.
Yeah.
But they gotta have the ability to start somewhere.
Well, the illustrating industry, which encompasses everything that is done, black and white or in colors, from newspapers to trade to comic books to, however, graphic novel and everything like that. But everybody who's ever done anything in art, has seen a comic book, has read a comic book, has looked at a comic book someplace, somewhere at some time. And it is the great incubator. It's, the same could be said about music when, with the records, you'll get the records and everything and you listen to the records and then you find out, hey, you want some more of that. And then your imagination gets, being set free and you're running wild. And next thing you know, you got those artists, you got those writers, you got those people that make those wonderful, wonderful comic books and those great, great imaginative stories of such fierce magnitude, and of course to make these motion pictures that are bigger than the very lives ourselves.
Yeah.
That's it starts. Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, and we talked about. In fairness, we're not just talking about Marvel and DC. I mean, look at perspectives of things like, okay, the Men in Black, that was a comic book. That started in comics. Road to Perdition was comics.
Right.
Again, we're not talking about just the mainstream stuff. We're talking about...
We could go into thousands of stories that have seen some kind of format, be it film, be it television, be it audio, be it radio, be it, whatever, or even just in the comic book realm itself, and that's what it's about. It's about the...
Well, okay, off the top of my head, here's one of the biggest ones of all.
What's that?
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were not a DC or Marvel product.
No, they were indie, yeah.
Oh, they were indie. Huge.
They were huge.
The Tick 2. That wasn't the big companies.
Right. So it only goes to show you, that the public knows what they like and the public knows what they want. And
the point is that Ivan, is that these all started from, we're not even talking about the Superman, Batmans, those guys. We're talking about, okay, I created this indie comic that maybe sold 15,000 issues, which, by the way, for indie is pretty good. And somebody looked at it and said, hey, you know what? We should consider this for a movie treatment. And next thing you know, or cartoons or whatever, and boom.
Well, yeah. Well, okay, we could go back to the golden age of illustration and how many of those funnies, the Sunday funnies were made into real movies, animated cartoons, brought to life on the screen in some way, shape, or form. From the great Superman, in 1939 for Famous Pictures, we're talking the Fleischer Brothers, most extraordinarily done 17 films of Superman in his first form, not even a year after being in circulation. Okay, says a lot.
Speaking of circulating, we might need to circulate out of here. I didn't realize how long we've been going.
You're running long this week, man.
We've running long.
Yeah, but what a fiery
long and strong. That's this week.
So, fiery conversation, boys.
You can find us on Twitter on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. All those places. Mike does this far better than I do. I should probably stop while I'm ahead.
No, you're doing fine. Go on ahead.
Continue. No. This is your thing, man. I'm just trying to be better about it.
All right, fine.
No, we're not on Podbean anymore.
No, we're not on Podbean, Ivan.
Oh, sorry.
Not anymore.
We haven't been in a while.
No, not for a few months. We're on Instagram, obviously, on Instagram and Twitter, at SOTRT Podcast. You can download the show on your usual platforms, Google, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and you can find Ivan on twitch.tv at Java and Ivan. Jeff is on Facebook and Google and YouTube at Steinemine Productions. Email us at sotrtpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about the Squares Roundtable as well. That's
be ready for it.
Yeah.
Have a good time, everybody. Thanks for coming down to the Squares of the Round Table podcast. And on behalf of Jeff and Mike and myself, we bid you adieu.
And on behalf of Ivan, I defer to his farewell message as well.
Mitchell says adieu.
Court is adjourned.